Okay, can I get all council members? Just as an FYI, the clock in the back is about 5 minutes behind schedule, so we are officially late. Okay. Good evening. I would like to call tonight's meeting of the Tacoma Park City Council to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Searcy,
Here.
Councilmember Landman,
Here.
Councilmember DeBala,
Present.
Councilmember Schlegel,
Here.
Councilmember Gilbert,
Here.
Councilmember Honzak,
Present.
Councilmember Wesselek.
Here.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have quite a few things on the agenda. We have the March 18th, 2026 closed session summary. We have a number of proclamations this evening, the Arbor Day proclamation, as well as a presentation to Anna Mache John from the Friends of the Native Trees in Tacoma, the Mayor's Monarch Day proclamation, the Arab American Heritage Month proclamation, and the Roland Dawes proclamation. We will receive a legislative update from our legislative advocate, Ann Seacott, as well as a statement from the ASME Local 3399. We will then have public comments on voting items, general public comments, council comments, city manager comments, and then we will have our public hearing. The public hearing will be on the city manager's proposed FY27 budget. We have a voting session this evening. It is a resolution of appreciation to the District 20 delegation for leading the effort to obtain $500,000 for the Metropolitan Branch Trail project. And then we will have two work sessions this evening, the American Rescue Plan Act Fund budget, as well as the Recreation Department budget. On Monday, April the 13th, the City Council will have a closed session regarding labor negotiations at 6:30 p.m. We will vote to convene in the auditorium. Also that evening at 7:30, the council will continue with this budget work sessions with our first work session on budget reconciliation. On Monday, April the 13th, the General Assembly session will end, so there's a lot of moving parts there. And on Wednesday, April the 15th, the City Council will not meet to allow staff time to prepare materials between budget work sessions. On Monday, April 20th, the City Council budget work session, we will have another one at 7:30. It will... Just want to triple check. I'm showing a public hearing on the 27th, the second one, or for the tax rate. On the 20th. Okay. That's a Monday. I'm just triple checking that. Okay. So on Monday, April the 20th, we will have our second public hearing on the FY27 budget. And then we will have our second work session on budget reconciliation. And so with that, we are going to move into the agenda for this evening. Just grab my closed session. All right, so I will begin. There it is. All right, thank you. There's a lot of paper up here, y'all, forgive me. So the March 18th, 2026 closed session summary. On March 18th, 2026, the City Council convened in the Community Center Auditorium at 6:04 p.m. to vote to enter into closed session to meet with staff and the city's labor attorney to receive a briefing and legal advice on collective bargaining negotiations with ASME Local 3399 and UFCW Local 400. The meeting was closed pursuant to General Provisions Article 3-305B9, which permits a meeting to be closed to discuss matters related to collective bargaining negotiations, and/or 3-305B7, which permits a meeting to be closed to consult with counsel to receive legal advice. Councilmember Honzak moved to go into closed session. Councilmember Wesselek seconded the motion. The motion carried. Voting for, Mayor Searcy and council members Honzak, Wesselek, Landman, and Schlegel. Councilmember Gilbert and DeBala were absent for the vote. The council reconvened in the hydrangea room. Present for the closed meeting were Mayor Searcy, council members Landman, DeBala, Schlegel, Gilbert, Honzak, and Wesselek. City Manager DeSpirito, Deputy City Manager Hupty, Finance Director Chung, Interim HR Director Andrew Bodek, HR Director Halstead, Labor Attorney Garrett Wozniak, Consultant Michael Strong of Evergreen Consulting, and Assistant City Clerk Nalverte. The council received a confidential briefing on the negotiations. No actions or votes were taken. The meeting was adjourned at 7:43 p.m. After the closed session, the council convened for the public session. So with that, we are going to move to proclamations for the record. Okay, so for the Arbor Day proclamation. Proclamation of Arbor Day 2026. Whereas trees are an important part of the character of Tacoma Park and provide many benefits to residents, and whereas trees improve air quality, reduce stormwater runoff, provide shade, lower summer temperatures, and reduce energy use in buildings, remove air pollution by absorbing emissions that contribute to climate change, provide wildlife habitat, and contribute to the beauty of our neighborhoods. And whereas the city plays a vital role in promoting and encouraging the protection and planting of trees. And whereas the city's goal is to achieve 60% canopy cover, however, a 2022 study found that the urban forest canopy cover for the city is 27.8%. And whereas tree planting and protection efforts on public and private property remain as important as ever to achieving this goal. And whereas the city of Tacoma Park is observing Arbor Day on April 12th in coordination with the city's Earth Day celebration to emphasize how protecting and expanding the urban tree canopy directly supports broader sustainability goals. Now, therefore, I, Talisha Searcy, Mayor of the City of Tacoma Park, Maryland, do hereby proclaim support for Arbor Day and the urban forest in Tacoma Park and encourage residents to plant trees and help preserve the tree canopy. I'm 57, sorry. And so with that, we're going to have our next item is a presentation to Anna Michon John from Friends of the Native Trees in Tacoma Park. And you can actually use the mic. I'll get you set up. Here you go.
Thank you, Mayor Searcy. Thank you, council members. Friends of Native Trees in Tacoma is grateful to you, Anna Michon John, for your initiative, skill, artistry, and achievements in improving native habitat in Tacoma Park. We have admired Anna's work for a few years now. In our monthly column, Tacoma Natives, we first wrote about Anna in July 2024. We highlighted her efforts in Circle Woods and Spring Park to remove invasive plants and replace them with native trees, shrubs, and perennials. Circle Woods is now an inviting and burgeoning woodland, providing all of the essential services Mayor Searcy just listed in her Arbor Day proclamation. In Spring Park, Anna's artistry is evident spring through fall at the Powhatan water feature, which is now framed by moisture-loving native plants. We wrote again about Anna in April last year to applaud the recent transformation of Stuart Armstrong Park. Not so long ago, this sloping site next to the Tacoma Park Elementary School was a thicket of invasive shrubs and vines and filled with litter. But Anna saw its potential to be a pollinator arboretum. Today, mature red oaks, redbuds, and American hollies that were once obscured by vines now take center stage. Cages protecting young American persimmon, blackjack oak, downy serviceberry, sassafras, and shagbark hickory promise a healthy future for this park and our community. Anna continues her work in Dorothy's Woods, creating habitat for all creatures, great and small, of Tacoma Park. Please accept this award certificate and a copy of Professor Doug Tallamy's latest book, inscribed by Tallamy and the grateful friends of native trees in Tacoma Park. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, can we all get a big group picture with the council too, if you don't mind? Yeah, you can come up here. Okay. Next, we have the proclamation designating April 8th, 2026 as Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day. Whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly has captured the imagination of children and adults alike. And whereas a single monarch will fly up to 3,000 miles away from their summer home in American backyards and grasslands to wintering grounds in Mexico's forests. And whereas we await the first annual sighting of the monarch butterfly in the city in coming days. And whereas 20 years ago, more than 1 billion eastern monarch butterflies migrated to Mexico each year, but experienced population declines of up to 90% in recent years. And whereas the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has proposed listing the monarch as a threatened species under the Endangered Species Act. And whereas cities, towns, and counties have a critical role to play to help save the monarch butterfly. And the city of Tacoma Park plays an active leadership role through stewardship of its properties. And whereas every resident in Tacoma Park can make a difference for the monarch by planting native milkweed and nectar plants to provide habitat for the monarch and pollinators in locations where people live, work, learn, play, and worship. Now, therefore, I, Talisha Searcy, Mayor of the City of Tacoma Park, do hereby proclaim April 8th, 2026, Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day, and encourage city staff and residents to support monarch conservation and raise awareness about the importance of protecting the monarch butterfly for future generations. Clap for the monarch. Next, we have the proclamation recognizing Arab American Heritage Month 2026. Whereas Arab American Heritage Month is a time to honor the rich history, vibrant culture, and countless contributions of Arab Americans to the fabric of our nation and local communities. And whereas for over a century, Arab Americans have been making valuable and significant impacts in fields including education, business, medicine, science, government, literature, and the arts, and have played an integral role in shaping the American story. And whereas Arab American Heritage Month provides an opportunity for all residents to learn more about the history, culture, and achievements of Arab Americans to foster greater understanding, compassion, and appreciation of our shared heritage. And whereas the city of Tacoma Park is a vibrant community that welcomes, values, and supports all residents, regardless of ethnic, religious, or cultural background. And whereas Arab Americans have faced unique challenges, including discrimination, harmful stereotypes, and barriers to equal opportunity, yet continue to demonstrate perseverance and contribute positively to American society. And whereas the city prioritizes fostering a supportive environment for all individuals and families, including Arab American residents, ensuring everyone feels valued and uplifted. And whereas the Arab Americans culturally, and whereas Arab Americans continually enrich Tacoma Park's cultural fabric through their unique perspectives, experiences, and talents, and their contributions exemplify the principles of unity and diversity. Now, therefore, I, Talisha Searcy, Mayor of the City of Tacoma Park, Maryland, on behalf of the council, residents, and staff, proclaim April 2026 as Arab American Heritage Month and encourage all residents to honor and celebrate the invaluable contributions and enduring legacy of Arab Americans and to promote greater inclusion, appreciation, and mutual respect in our community. And our last proclamation is in recognition of the passing of Roland James Dawes. Proclamation honoring the life of Roland James Dawes. Whereas Roland James Dawes, born June 8, 1928, in Culpeper, Virginia, and a lifelong resident of Tacoma Park, Maryland, passed away on March the 23rd, 2026, in Washington, D.C. And whereas Roland Dawes lived a life rooted in perseverance, resilience, and unwavering commitment to his family and community, shaped by his early experiences growing up during an era of segregation and rising above his challenges with dignity and determination. And whereas Roland Dawes was a respected entrepreneur and pillar of the Tacoma Park community as the owner of R&C Dawes Refuge Company and Roland's Unisex Barbershop on Carroll Avenue, establishments that serve not only as businesses, but as vital gathering places fostering connection, trust, and unity among neighbors. And whereas his commitment to public service was exemplified through his tenure on the Tacoma Park City Council from 2001 to 2003, where he worked to promote growth, inclusion, and opportunity for all residents. And whereas Roland honorably served his country in the United States Army, demonstrating his dedication to service from a young age and carried forward a lifelong love for travel and learning. And whereas he contributed meaningfully to preserving the history of his community through his participation in the Tacoma Park Oral History Project, sharing firsthand accounts of the Great Depression, World War II, and the Civil Rights era to educate and inspire future generations. And whereas he brought joy and pride to his community through his participation in the Tacoma Park 4th of July Parade, where he drove his beloved Model T car. And whereas above all, Roland Dawes will be remembered for his wisdom, kindness, integrity, and steadfast dedication to uplifting others and strengthening the community he loved. Now, therefore, I, Talisha Searcy, Mayor of the City of Tacoma Park, Maryland, on behalf of the City Council and residents, do hereby proclaim our appreciation for Roland James Dawes' contributions to the Tacoma Park community and beyond. And I will say, I did have a chance to do a little bit of learning about Roland, and he was one of the first African-American entrepreneurs in this city, one of the first business owners. So our hearts go out to his family. And so with that, we are going to move to our legislative update. I'm just going to check and see if Ann, we are joined by Ann Seacott, our legislative advocate in Annapolis.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Sorry, it's a little dark in here. We are just a few days away from the end of the General Assembly session. The news today, in part, was the governor signed into law the budget and the related bills, the operating budget, the capital budget, and the Budget Reconciliation Act. So all of that is complete. One of the other announcements today had to do with the big energy bill that's been very hotly debated and heavily amended. The House and Senate have different versions, and they have a conference committee that is meeting. They are in agreement on a great deal in the bill. But there are a few details to hammer out. The city is weighing in with strong support for the Empower program to be able to have a better, between the two versions, a better set of goals related to protecting the program and the goals related to the reduction in or how much we are advancing in reaching the goals that have been set. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that, although I think it'll be probably wrapped up by the end of the week. The MML priority, the bill to create a task force to look at municipalities and local revenue generation, has passed, and we are certainly expecting the governor to sign that bill into law. There's been a lot of back and forth related to some of the immigration bills. The House and Senate are trying to figure out, I think, some of the bills that remain. There's been attempts to try to combine bills. And I was in a voting session today in the Senate where they were trying to uncombine the bills. So I think there's still a lot out there that's going to come down to the last minute on Monday in terms of what are the details that get passed in legislation. There are a number of things that are moving and will pass. We've already had the 287G bill signed into law. The data privacy bill, again, there are differences, but that seems to be moving. The detention center bill seems to be moving. The sensitive locations bill, called the Maryland Values Act, is moving. So there are just differences that need to get worked out these last few days. I had reported last week that Good Cause has passed the House, and we're very grateful to Delegate Janelle Wilkins, who has sponsored the bill for many years. Delegate Lori Charkoudian was the floor leader on the House side. And so they have passed that bill. It did cross over late in the process and is right now in the Senate Rules Committee. And that's where we are working to see if there's any chance of it getting through. If some of you may have seen in the news today, the Senate President has expressed his doubts that there's time to get that through this year. But we will continue to push to the end. And I think those are the big things that I wanted to report on tonight, but happy to answer questions as best I can, because things are flying around these last few days with lots of voting sessions, multiple times every day.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Ann. I am ecstatic that the MML bill has passed. And for those residents that are not familiar, that bill just requests a task force to different levels of government to come together to think through options for alternative revenue sources for municipalities. There are tons of states across this country that will allow for municipalities to have some aspect of sales tax and other tax options versus just the property tax route. And so this, I think, is going to be the first step in us really having some factual conversations around other options for revenue sources for municipalities across the state. So I'm glad to hear that that's gone through. And I also want to continue to echo my appreciation for the legislative working group, council members Landman, Dabala, and Wesselek. It's been a wild ride. We're still not completely done yet, but we may be by I'm not giving us to the end of this evening. I think we may have to make a few phone calls by the end of the week, but we'll see what happens. And with that, Ann, I'm not seeing any additional lights.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Okay, so next, we are going to have a 5-minute statement from the ASME Local 3399.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brendan Smith. I'm the president of the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, Local 3399. Our members comprise the majority of the city workforce working across most departments. Some of our members and officers are here tonight. I want to share our concerns about the current proposed budget, which doesn't include sufficient funding for personnel expenses for FY27. We are in collective bargaining with the city now and are developing our wage proposal. We are certain that the current budgeted funds will not cover the costs of needed salary adjustments for our members. Despite the best efforts of our union and city management, we are far behind schedule in collective bargaining because the contractor who was hired to complete a wage and reclassification study delivered the draft version more than 3 months late. We actually just received some additional study data yesterday. And the current proposed budget includes funding for a 4% wage increase for all staff, but our wage proposal will be more expansive to meet the wage study's own recommendations, as well as addressing decades of wage disparities, which have led to low wages compared to neighboring jurisdictions. Many positions also have expanded in job responsibilities, but haven't been reclassified to higher pay grades to recognize those additional duties. Another major concern is wage compression, where employees with decades of service often aren't paid much more than new hires. We have members who have dedicated more than 30 years of their lives to this city, yet the wage study found that no employees have reached the top of the wage scale for their positions, and most haven't even reached the middle point. The wage study recommended additional wage increases based on seniority to address this issue. City management wisely included a caveat in the current budget proposal that there are, quote, 2 relative unknowns as it relates to wages for fiscal year 2027. That includes the findings of the wage study that aren't included in the proposed budget and ongoing collective bargaining. The budget proposal acknowledges that more wage adjustments may be needed during the budget deliberations or in a budget amendment in fiscal year 2027. To be proactive, city management and city council should identify additional budget savings now or be prepared to utilize city reserve funds once the new contract is ratified. This isn't just an issue of fair compensation, it's also an issue of racial equity, which the City Council has identified as a priority. Most of our members are people of color, many of whom are working at the low end of the pay scale. And some of our members with full-time positions have salaries that are so low they have to work a second part-time job to support their families. A prior wage study that was conducted 5 years ago was deeply flawed and didn't result in any salary increases for our members, even though the study found that many positions were underpaid compared to the market. We're hoping to avoid the situation that occurred a few years ago under a prior city manager when the city didn't budget sufficient personnel funds despite ongoing collective bargaining. That led to a breakdown in negotiations, declaration of an impasse, and the assignment of a federal mediator. When none of those actions helped, our members took to the streets with a direct action campaign that included a support group of local residents, flyers on telephone poles, a public letter of support from the District 20 state legislative delegation, and favorable media coverage in the Washington Post. We finally received some salary increases that the city could afford that could have been provided in good faith earlier to avoid that time-consuming battle. We're here tonight to raise these issues now with the hopes of avoiding potential conflicts or another public battle later this year. Switch gears quickly. There also has been some discussion about the continuation of some ARPA-funded positions. There's 2 union positions in the finance department and IT department that were funded by ARPA that are crucial to the continuing operation of those departments, the timely delivery of city services, and the protection of city IT systems from the growing risk of cyber attacks. Both the IT and Finance Department directors support the continuation of these positions, which have a minimal impact on the overall city budget. The failure to maintain these positions also will leave those departments short-staffed and push more work onto the remaining employees, which could cause low morale, burnout, and turnover. Our union members are the backbone of the city workforce, and the city would grind to a halt without our dedication and our labor. We aren't seeking exorbitant wages, just fair compensation for our service to Tacoma Park. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Smith, would you mind sending the council your statement? Thank you very much. Next are public comments on voting items. This evening, our voting item is the resolution of appreciation to the District 20 delegation for leading the effort to obtain $500,000 for the Metropolitan Branch Trail Project. Are there any public comments on voting items? Okay. Seeing none. Do we have any virtual comments on voting items? Okay. Do we have any general public comments? General public comments. We're not talking about the budget just yet, just general public comments. Okay. Seeing.
Yes, good evening all. My name is David Reed. I am currently serving as president of Tacoma Park Mobilization. And it's on behalf of that organization, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to our upcoming public forum that is called Resisting ICE, Lessons Learned. The forum will be held on Sunday, April 19th at the Seventh-day Adventist Church at the heart of our city, which is at 6951 Carroll Avenue. The forum is actually broken into 2 segments. The first includes presenters from the national and state levels, and it will begin, for instance, with Honorable Senator Chris Van Hollen, who will be looking at lessons learned at the national level and what challenges lie before them in the future. Second presenter in this segment will be Jonathan Smith, who is Director of the Civil Rights Division of the Maryland Attorney General's Office, and he will be looking at the legal successes and challenges in addressing ICE. Third presenter in this segment will be Shana Cater of We Are CASA, and she will be examining the legislative gains during the legislative session. And a fourth presenter in this period, in this segment, will be Myra Laura, who is Maryland Governor's Director of the Immigrant Rights Program. After that segment, we will take over half an hour for public comments and discussion, and then we will move into the second segment. And we will, during that segment, try to focus more on local issues of organizing and resisting ICE. The first presenter will be Luisa Cardona, who is Assistant Chief Administrative Office for Montgomery County, who is going to address the question of the impact of the expected anticipated surge of ICE and CBP. Second presenter will be Reverend Julio Hernandez, Director of the Congregation Action Network, who will provide an eyewitness from his experience as Minneapolis. Third presenter will be Dave Williams of Indivisible Hagerstown, who is very much deep in the struggles in that city, in that Washington County area. Fourth presenter will be Laura Usher, also from Indivisible Hyattsville, also very much engaged in trying to hold ICE and CBP accountable. After those presentations, we'll have a full hour of public discussion. We certainly hope that you will all join us and share these lessons and integrate them into your ongoing deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other general public comments this evening? Okay. Do we have any general public comments virtually? Okay, all right, we're gonna move to council comments this evening. Do we have any council comments? Okay, Councilmember Gilbert.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to highlight a few things coming up. It's that time of month again for the Man of Food Drive. We'll be delivering boxes of food to families with food insecurities on next Monday, the 13th, around noonish. If anyone has the time and energy, come on out and give us a hand. Could also use, I know I asked before, anyone who has a truck, and we have a hard time delivering to families that are not on site at 7620 Maple Avenue. That's the Franklin building. We deliver at other buildings in Ward 4, so we can use someone with a vehicle. And again, that's next Monday, the 13th, around noon. Had a meeting last night with the Maple Avenue Community Association. They're coordinating and organizing for Juneteenth celebration. I think it's worth mentioning what Juneteenth is all about, just in case anyone doesn't know. Juneteenth celebration is a federal holiday in the United States celebrating the end of slavery, commemorating the day in 1865 when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, finally learned of their freedom over 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. It is a celebration of freedom, resilience, and African American culture. This celebration will take place on June 20th from noon until 6 p.m. at 7611 Piney Branch Road. That's the Tacoma Park Middle School. So, and the association really wanted me to place emphasis on the fact that although this is a celebration of African American culture, all are welcome. There will be music. Apparently, the Prince George's County Police Department has a band, and they're going to be coming and playing them. Can't wait to hear that. And God Glorified from our local church in Ward 4 in Geneva, they're going to be performing. And the Backyard Band, which is a go-go band and pretty popular in the area, they're going to be performing from 3 to 5 p.m. on that day. So there'll be also DJs and food, and there'll be a moon bounce and face painting, and Wild Wills will be there with their vehicles. So it's going to be a good time. So mark your calendars for June 20th. Again, June 20th is the day after Juneteenth, but that's when we're going to be recognizing that holiday. Let's see, anything else? I just want to say a couple of words about Mr. Roland Dawes. Growing up in this community, it's tough. A lot of good conversations with that man. Dude was the ambassador of cool, you know, and he only had one gear, and that was smooth. And a lot of good advice for a young man trying to find his way in his community. Fun fact, a lot of people didn't know, that as I'm talking about him the past week, that he's the grandfather of Dominique Dawes. If you might remember,
I knew that.
Olympic gold medalist who grew up here in Tacoma Park. So he was very proud of his granddaughter. And his son, Melvin, who owns the barbershop. But good dude, I'm going to miss him. Rest in peace, Mr. Dawes. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilbert. Councilmember DeBala.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I have a budget session for Ward 2 residents that's virtual coming up tomorrow night at 7:30. And so if you haven't gotten the link and want to sign in, just get a hold of me. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember DeBala. Councilmember Hanzat.
Just a few quick things. One, I know that the city manager is probably going to talk to you about Earth Day in a second, but once again, I just want to say, please come out and enjoy it. It should be fantastic. And it's in Ward 5, part of it, and the other part's on the other side of the city. It's going to be an exciting time this time. And if you like to bike, take a look at the agenda. It looks really exciting. I just saw too, there might be an e-bike on offer. And again, you'll get more details. Happy Easter to those who just celebrated, and to our Ethiopian residents who I think will, some of whom will be celebrating next week. And I want to share with everybody who doesn't know his name yet. I just learned the name of the new Long Branch Main Street manager, Jacob Gray. I haven't actually met him yet, but take note of his name. Please look for his name. It looks like there's going to be a busker series throughout May in Long Branch. So that should be a lot of fun too. Some local musicians. And I think you can even, if you are a local musician, you can apply to go and perform in some of the busker series. So lots of fun things happening in Long Branch. I want to also say thank you to the mayor and once again, as I did last week, to our housing staff. Essex House has been, it is a very large building that is in Ward 5 with 135 units. And it's faced a lot of challenges, I think that well preceded my time on council from everything I am told. But during my 4 years, it's taken a lot of time. And sometimes it feels like we aren't making a lot of progress. Well, I'm happy to say that right at this moment, it feels like there's an opening, and communications are improving. The problems remain similar as they have been, but I'm hopeful that we might see a little window here of progress, in part because we now have a full staff in the city, and we can really work on these. So thank you to everybody who's been helping with that. And in the spirit of the proclamation on monarchs, Brookside Butterfly Garden is now open. If folks haven't been there, that's a lot of fun. And if you're looking for local arts programming, in addition to our fantastic arts agenda here, which you should check out, the flyers are just outside the door. Also, Blair is having their spring musical next weekend. It begins. I know this because my 15-year-old has been coming home covered in paint to paint the backdrop for Frozen they're putting on. So those are always really, really good quality, and I encourage everybody to get out there and see it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Honzak. Councilmember Westlake.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that earlier today, myself, Mayor Searcy, and several others got to meet with a bunch of business owners in the Crossroads area for the Tacoma Langley Crossroads annual meeting. I think it was a really great event, great turnout. I know I enjoyed meeting with a lot of folks, and it was great having some of our city staff there, and lots of good things. So I wanted to just congratulate the Crossroads staff, Javier in particular, for putting that together. And just lastly, I just want to say thanks to all. I missed the meeting on Monday, and I'm getting myself caught up. It was unfortunate we had to say goodbye to our dog on that day, so that's why I wasn't here. But anyway, thank you for my patience as I get caught up. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Westlake, and again, so sorry for your loss. Councilmember Schlegel.
Thank you. I wanted to say how much I'm looking forward to the public budget hearing this evening. And I just wanted to say in that light that our city government is a really remarkable, dynamic organization. And we're operating in this time of great uncertainty. And we have significant commitments we've made over the past 10 years. And we have all these emerging challenges. I just wanted to make clear I see myself as a resident representing other residents. And so I'm doing my best to process all the information from staff and to welcome, and all the welcome input from residents. I want to express my deepest thanks to you, Deputy City Manager Eubanks, City Manager DeSpirito, and Deputy City Manager Hupty. I know that I've posed dozens of questions in response to the work sessions and the original budget, and along with colleagues as well who have posed many questions. And I appreciate all of the time that's going into that. I do not take it for granted, and I thank you so much for that. I also wanted to thank Paloma Arroyo Lefebvre in Housing Community Development, for her attention and care for residents of Victory Tower who've been impacted by a fire recently and who are displaced right now. I had a virtual budget session on Zoom on April 1st, and next Wednesday, when the council's not meeting, still tentatively thinking there will be a second virtual budget session that night. If there is a conflict, then I will move it to the Thursday, the 16th. In addition to all of the Earth Day activities that Councilmember Honzak mentioned, please also come out on April 19th. You're all invited to Spring Park. I don't think this will conflict with the Tacoma Park Mobilization event, but from 4 to 5 p.m., we're going to meet at the Spring and unveil, and you can get your free copy of a new map and guide to Wild South Tacoma, which includes parts of Ward 4 and Ward 2 as well. And it's just a tool for families and kids and people of all ages to get reacquainted with the ecosystem that we share. It's a volunteer effort, and I really appreciate the experts like Vincent Vervage of Font and Adriana Elefante, the graphic artist on the project, for their excellent work, as well as former council member Randy Gibson. And that's all I'll say for now. Thank you. Oh, I also wanted to acknowledge Abigail Hooper of Woodland Avenue, who has written to ask that the council do more to eliminate plastic waste in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Schlegel. Councilmember Landman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd also like to thank the city staff for taking the time to respond in detail to a number of the questions that I have posed about the budget. And one of the reasons I appreciate it is because it enables us to be more transparent with the residents who pose so many questions to us. So having your responses helps to open the door to people better understanding where our money goes, and I think it's very constructive, so thank you for that. And I just wanted to take a moment to say a special thank you to Deputy Police Chief Philippos, who has been working very hard to tackle the questions from residents about the administration of our new stop sign camera program. And I've noticed that a lot of people, when they look at the videos, are noticing, yeah, they actually did violate the rules and they're ready to pay, but the payment system has needed a little attention, and he's been very responsive and helpful. And I think that helps to build support for the program, for people to understand how to make it work better. So gratitude to them for treating it as a pilot that it is and figuring out the details as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Landman. So I like to start with the prior weekend. The egg hunt was amazing. There were so many people, it was 1,000 or so people there. And it was lots of people. And my family enjoyed it. Touch a Truck was a success. I think it was a success for some other little ones as well. And so I want to thank our rec department, police department, libraries, everybody that was out there, because it was an all hands on deck event. And I'm so appreciative of all of the hard work and creativity that our staff put in to make sure that these types of events are a success. I can say for me personally, my 7-year-old nephew came from New Jersey because every year he wants to go to the egg hunt. So it has become a thing for me that I cannot escape. So thank you all very much. In terms of things that are happening currently, I want to again echo Councilmember Wesselic's appreciation to the Tacoma Langley Crossroads Development Authority. It was a wonderful meeting today. I had the opportunity to participate on a panel with the county exec and County Council Member Kate Stewart and the Assistant Secretary for Department of Transportation for the state to really try to speak to some of the challenges that so many of our businesses are facing, particularly those in the Crossroads area, from Purple Line construction to the impact of immigration enforcement on not only the safety of their of their employees and their businesses directly, but also the downstream impacts that this has played on their sales and their traffic and flow of people coming in and out of their businesses. So definitely look forward to continuing to work with Javier and work with the businesses to try to continue to promote all of the great work that we're already doing in terms of the number of business grants that we have coming on the scenes, thanks to our fully staffed HCD. That's going to be a common theme, the fact that we're excited about being fully staffed in our Housing and Community Development Division, but also as we continue to try to navigate these unprecedented times in terms of immigration enforcement and what it may mean, those trickle-down impacts on our community. I also had the opportunity today to participate in the COG Board of Governors meeting. Today it was, we received a presentation on the state of the commute, where there was lots of data that was shared about the regional trends in commuting and how people are navigating our region, including use of metro, rail, bus, car drivers, and the like. And it was some really interesting findings, one of which was there was some consistent trends across income levels in terms of use of public transit for our region, which is unique. But, you know, in light of all of the different things that have been happening in terms of return to work and some other factors, there's definitely some additional analyses that could be beneficial to get a better understanding of how over time we could expect for commute patterns within the region to change. We also received presentations from DC, Maryland, and Virginia staff responsible for the America's 250th anniversary efforts that are going on across our region. There's going to be a lot of things happening in DC this summer. So from I think there's what is it? It's not the WWE, what is it? The FIFA, yes. There's I think Grand Prix. I think there's one of those. And I think that there's the MMA fight, I think there's an MMA fight or something that's going on. There's a lot of very interesting things that will be happening this summer in DC. So we did receive a little bit of an overview of what this summer might look like going into the fall. I will say it's going to be pretty entertaining, to say the least. But one of the things that that did come out of that discussion is the need for public safety across our regional area to be coordinated, and there will be outreach to the various police chiefs across the region just to make sure that everybody's aware for public safety reasons about all of the events that are happening across the region. Also, for on the Maryland side, one event will be Sail. So it's where they bring in the big, tall ships. It'll come through the harbor. There'll be one in Alexandria as well. I will just say I happened to be out of the country in Amsterdam when Sail was in Amsterdam, and I had never seen anything like it before. And so I was very excited to hear that Sail is coming down the East Coast because of the 250th. And so there will be an event in the harbor. There will also be a huge event in the city of Alexandria for the course of the summer. So check those out. And lastly, we received an update on the status of the Talent Capital AI. And that is a tool that was developed through COG to provide a single centralized system for job seekers to access job matching, career training, reskilling, and the like, in light of the number of individuals that have lost their jobs due to a lot of the downsizing that's happening. Sorry, I'm going a little long just because of that. This weekend, there's lots of things that are happening. There's the Capitol, I think it's the Capitol Focus Jazz Band, Friday. And so that will be here in the auditorium. There is also Washington Adventist University is also hosting a 5K family run, and that is on the 12th. At 9 a.m. So, you know, you can start running, the day running, and then you can maybe take your bike during the Earth Day celebration. So there will be lots of physical activity over the course of Sunday. And so with that, I'm going to pause because I know that we missed Ms. Machui during the general public comments. And so we're going to have Ms. Machui provide her public comments. And let's see if we can get her up. Okay, Ms. Machui, I think we can hear you.
Thank you. I don't know what happened before. You said my name, but you gave me about 5 seconds, and I'm 78. You know, I'm not that fast, okay? And I just, again, I want to say my red face is from a condition, rosacea. Okay, I'm not drunk or anything. It's a physical condition. Anyways, I just want to say something good about Mr. Dawes. I was sad to know of his passing. He had offered to help my son learn how to barber, and my son had said no thank you because he didn't think he was capable of doing that. But I just wanted to say a thank you, belated thank you. And then I wanted to say something. I wish our Senator Smith would do something, because years ago we went to one of our parents with special needs adults meeting. He said I could call him anytime. Well, I've called him and he doesn't respond. So I guess because he's getting higher up in the world, he thinks he's too good for parents with special needs adults. And I think it's a shame because we're the lowest of the low. And my son was born here, and I say I'm glad people care about trees and other things, but my son was born here, and he's in bad shape, and he's gotten worse. Why isn't someone helping him? It's frustrating. It really, really is. I'm sorry. And anyways, you all have a good evening. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Machui. And Councilmember Honzak, you had a follow-up.
Yes, I'm sorry to go out of order. I forgot something that I think that the residents of Ward 5 and surrounding areas might be interested in. I learned today that there is a online public meeting about the Long Branch and Manchester Place Purple Line sidewalks that are planned for the area around us. So anybody who lives, for example, I looked at the maps today, anyone who lives across the street, for example, but even in my ward, but wants to look at the connectivity that's being proposed, I invite you to take a look at that online. I have not gotten around to my April, March updates yet, so I have it ready to go out, but you can type in Long Branch, Manchester Place, Purple Line, sidewalks, and you should be able to find the information. So it's at 6:30 p.m. April 14th. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And so now we're going to move to city manager comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council, and to our residents and guests. I'm excited to lead off with an announcement from the Housing and Community Development Department. The City of Tacoma Park is very pleased to announce that we have been awarded 3 grants from the Maryland Energy Administration, totaling almost $500,000. This includes $432,000 to support energy audits and electrification upgrades for grantees of the city's Multifamily Building Improvement Grant Program. This program is accepting Phase 2 applications now through Thursday, April 30th. In addition, the city received a $50,000 grant from the local Government Energy Modernization Program that will fund energy audits at all 4 municipal buildings. These grants will be instrumental in supporting the electrification and healthier, more fuel-efficient buildings in alignment with the city's climate goals. So glad to bring that. This Friday, April 10th at 7:30 p.m. in the Community Center, come hear the Capital Focus Jazz Band. The Capital Focus Jazz Band features young musicians who bring the energy and vitality of early jazz to life, playing in the New Orleans tradition with a repertoire including Jelly Roll Morton, Duke Ellington, Fats Waller, and the Great American Songbook of Jazz Standards. The event is free to all. On Saturday, April 18th, please join us at 10 o'clock a.m. to create a new public art project celebrating our local immigrant communities. Ribbons will be woven through the chain link fence at the basketball court outside the Tacoma Park Community Center, with designs featuring the colors of flags from Ethiopia, El Salvador, and other countries. Anyone ages 10 and up can come help with the project, and no reservations are required. MCPS students are also eligible for SSL Community Service Hours. Don't miss this chance to have fun, make public art, and celebrate the diversity of Tacoma Park. From the Public Works Department, it is our favorite time of year. In honor of Earth Month, the City of Tacoma Park is hosting a celebration in partnership with the Tacoma Park Silver Spring Co-op, with activities spanning Sligo Creek Stream Valley Park, which is 8101 Sligo Creek Parkway, and the TPSS, or Tacoma Park Silver Spring Co-op, 201 Ethan Allen Avenue. The event will be held Sunday, April 12th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and includes more than 30 confirmed partners. Please check out the schedule of activities on the city website for a full list of participating partners. From the Police Department, on March 25th at approximately 6:30 p.m., the Tacoma Park Police Department officers were dispatched to the intersection of Sligo Creek Parkway and Maple Avenue for a report of an individual in distress. Upon arrival, officers observed an adult female standing at the railing of a bridge. Corporal Brandon Addison attempted to communicate with the individual. However, she did not engage. During the interaction, the individual attempted to climb over the railing. At that moment, Corporal Addison secured her by the torso while Sergeant Hennick Attikilt assisted by pulling her safely away from the railing. Their quick and coordinated actions prevented a potential tragedy. The individual was subsequently transported to a local hospital for evaluation and care. We are proud to recognize these two officers for their extraordinary actions, which reflect the highest standards of courage, professionalism, and commitment to our community. Their response had a significant and life-saving impact and exemplifies the dedication our officers bring to their work every day. If you or someone you know may be in crisis, it's important to recognize the signs and seek help. For warning signs and additional resources, please visit the National Alliance on Mental Illness. If you or someone you know is in crisis, help is available. You may call or text 988 for immediate support. On March 25th, Officers Corbin Haynes and Holden Keene had the honor of attending the law enforcement torch run kickoff meeting in Clarksville, Maryland, on behalf of the Tacoma Park Police Department, where they celebrated a truly remarkable achievement. This event raised a great deal of funds for Special Olympics Maryland, funds that go directly to supporting events and ensuring athletes can participate at no cost to themselves and their families. We're especially proud to share that the Tacoma Park Police Department earned Torch Club recognition for raising over $1,000 in merchandise sales. Their badge and agency will be featured on the back of the 2026 Law Enforcement Torch Run t-shirts, marking their second consecutive year of participation. This accomplishment reflects the dedication of our officers and the generous support of our community and staff members who purchased hats, shirts, or both. Please join us for Coffee with a Cop on April 24th for casual chats, coffee, and community connection. Whether you've got a question, a concern, or just want to say hello, we're here for it. This event will be located at 7600 Maple Avenue, Park Ritchie Apartments lobby from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And finally, from the police department, the Tacoma Park Police Department is participating in the Drug Enforcement Administration nationwide prescription drug take-back day on Saturday, April 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. This campaign allows the public to prevent pill abuse and theft by ridding their homes of potentially dangerous, expired, unused, and unwanted prescription drugs. Bring your medications to the Tacoma Park Police Department here at 7500 Maple Avenue, first floor lobby, or outside, weather permitting. From the Recreation Department, the Fitness Expo is scheduled for this Saturday, April 11th at the Recreation Center on New Hampshire Avenue. Registration is now underway, and many of our senior classes have already reached capacity. Limited spots are still available in select programs, including the upcoming trip to the Sandy Spring Museum and Golden Trails Summer Camp. For more information and to reserve your spot, please visit tacomaparkmd.gov/recreation. Okay. A quick update. The expo is postponed due to some water damage that occurred. So is that a to be announced? Yeah, I'm sorry. To be announced reschedule on that. As the school year begins to wind down, now's the time to start planning for before and after school childcare for next year. We offer childcare at both the Community Center at 7500 Maple Avenue and the Recreation Center at 7315 New Hampshire Avenue. Registration for the 2026-2027 school year opens for residents on April 15th at 12 noon. We encourage families to register early since spaces fill quickly. Scholarships are also available for city residents. And finally, from the city manager's office, this week's staff shout out comes from Greg Clark, director of our recreation department. He said, "I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to everyone for the outstanding job on Saturday's egg hunt. The event was a tremendous success, and it's clear that a great deal of effort and coordination went into making it happen. We received very positive feedback from attendees, with early estimates suggesting over 1,000 patrons participated. A special commendation goes to John Webster for his leadership and organization in bringing this event together. Your dedication, John, truly made a difference. I'd also like to thank City Police, Public Works, and Communications for their valuable contributions and support throughout the event. From officers Christian Peterson and Mark Elfadel, working alongside our teens to distribute popcorn and water, to assisting with event logistics and supplies, your teamwork ensured everything ran smoothly. A special thank you to our Public Works crew for bringing the Touch-A-Truck vehicles, one of the highlights of the day. Families truly enjoyed exploring the trucks and, of course, honking the horns. Excellent work, Greg said. Excellent work all around. And thank you again for your commitment to the Tacoma Park community. We have another staff shout out tonight from our communications department who would like to recognize Angelica Watts for her quick, timely assistance in covering communications for the flooding incident at the Recreation Center on Monday evening. And a final staff shout out from our recreation department to Ashley Moran for stepping up this week at camp. She ensured everything ran smoothly while wearing multiple hats during a short-staffed period. Ashley remained flexible, dependable, and kept operations running seamlessly. In addition, she jumped right in to support the Egg Hunt event on Saturday with enthusiasm and readiness. Your hard work and dedication did not go unnoticed. Thank you, Ashley. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And so with that, we're going to move to our public hearing this evening. We have people who have signed up. And as a reminder, comments are for 3 minutes. And just as a reminder, no profanity. No, we have to remind folks that there is no profanity. If you have not signed up already, there's another sign-up sheet that is here. Okay, and I believe there's 2 individuals with presentations this evening. Okay, can you remind me of who? Okay. Okay. So there are 3 or 2? Two together. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started. I have first here Randy Gibson and Joshua Blum, if the 2 of you are presenting together. And you have a PowerPoint presentation?
We do, yeah.
Okay. Yes, we have it electronically and we can make sure that it's sent around. And I just want to confirm 5. 3 and 3. Okay, so you guys are tag teaming it. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Joshua Blum. I live in Ward 4. And first, this is such a lovely meeting. I'm coming from DC about a year ago, and it's so nice. Like, everyone's so nice to each other. Wow. But this presentation is going to be about the budget. Again, I just moved here about a year and a half ago, and just making sure that the values that I saw in Tacoma Park when I wanted to move here remain and are deepened through this budgetary process. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Could you speak
Oh,
into
for
the
sure,
mic
yeah.
more? Thank you.
So as we could see just quickly, 1/5 of homeowners and almost half of renters are currently stressed by housing costs, which are defined by 30% or more of your costs per month on housing. An additional 41% of Tacoma Park residents are food insecure. Next slide, please. No, this is correct. Thank you. Yeah. Just looking at the property tax rate in the county, it is quite higher than the rest of the county in Tacoma Park. It's about 90%. The second place, Rockville. Next slide, please. And this is a really key slide here. So as we can see, the property tax revenue is outpacing CPI. And the reason that's important is because anyone who relies on benefits as their main income source, those benefits are traced with CPI, as I think a lot of us know. So keeping these 2 lines together ensure that our most at-risk residents are able to stay present in the city for all these great changes that we've discussed tonight and we'll continue to discuss. Next slide, please. Tacoma Park, just over the last 18 out of 19 years, has budgeted general fund deficits. Sometimes we obviously have special projects that come, which are some of the outliers, but just in general, a balanced budget would ensure that people living closer to the CPI increases with their benefits would be able to stay here. Next slide. Some examples of why expenditures are high include growth in the number of employees and salary levels, capital projects, police staffing and equipment, program mission creep, and ARPA funds gone, but projects and positions continued using general funds. All good causes, and again, just making sure that we're able to balance that with our residents' needs. That way they can enjoy them and stay. Next slide. And just last slide of just another context that our full-time equivalents over the last 10 years has increased by about 7.5%, while our population has pretty much stayed about equal. So just making sure, just making sure our costs equal our spending and priorities. And now I'm going to turn it to Randy for another 3 minutes. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Josh. And he and I are speaking on behalf of the Tacoma Park Community Budget Working Group. I'm Randy Gibson from Ward 3. Next slide. So here's one of the ways that costs get increased, and is the growth in number of relatively highly paid positions, highly paid FTEs. You can see the general government picture line at the top, which has grown from roughly 17 to 22 FTEs. Of those, considerable number, almost half of the general government funds are six-figure salaries. And the blue line shows police FTEs that are sergeant and above. Again, over this roughly 9-year period of time, there's been a considerable growth in this more highly paid FTEs. Next slide, please. So one of the other reasons why we have our expenditures have continued to exceed our, you want to go back there, concede. One of the other reasons, that we've just went past that one. We want to go to the next one. This, right, thank you. So another reason for increased expenditures is high-cost capital projects. Everyone's familiar with the library replacement, which cost a little over $15.5 million, and then we will be continuing to pay bond payments on that of $4.5 million. You can read the rest: Flower Avenue, Public Works, Brashears Run, stream restoration. We also have some ongoing projects such as the atrium fill-in and additional sidewalk and road work projects. Next slide, please. So upcoming high-cost capital projects include the Recreation Center and Bikeways and Trails and the Maple Avenue Connectivity Project. All of these are hefty projects with significant cost implications. Next slide. This slide compares our city's police department and its staffing and equipment with two other cities, Rockville and Gaithersburg. If you just focus on the last three rows there, you will see that the staffing ratios as well as the per capita cost of police salaries is 2 to 4 times what Gaithersburg and Rockville are paying. Next slide. So our key challenges, what do we need to do? What do we need to do to live within our means? When I say our means, I mean our city's means, our city's residents, those that are in perhaps housing cost burden. Shift staff size and top salaries back in line to a city our size, evaluate transferring some police work to the county, defer non-routine capital projects, and set some meaningful performance metrics, including targets, and act on the result. We have measures, but we do not have measurable targets in our budget. Thank you. Next. Other options: transferring back some county services, stormwater, rec center construction, other sorts of things, reducing dependency on external consultants. You can read the rest. Next slide, please. And the bottom line is the property tax credits are continually higher than inflation. This worsens the already heavy financial burden on residents. Next slide. So residents need property tax relief. That's the bottom line. And the flat tax being proposed simply means higher taxes. Let's be clear about that, because assessments go up. A flat tax rate means higher taxes. Next slide. Lastly, I just want to say our voices in the community need to speak out, and I encourage everyone to talk with your council member and others in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to acknowledge, I gave you all a little extra time because we had some technical difficulties. No worries. Next up,
Jesse, is it easier for us to just do the presentations back to back?
Is it somebody
Okay.
else?
No, Mr.
I'm not
Huebner,
trying
we're
to
gonna-
buck, huh?
no. We're going to go ahead and have you present because it's just easier to have, because we have the
As you
presentations
will,
going.
Mike. Make sure Jesse's ready. To, okay.
Let's
Uh,
give,
s-
let's
Slide-
give the clerk
I'll
1 minute.
wait till you're ready. When the first slide goes up, I'll start. Okay. Good evening, Paul Huebner, Ward 3. Every household has 5 major expenses: housing, healthcare, child or elder care, food, and taxes. Slide 1 shows the recurrent last 7 years average deficit voted and adopted by this and prior councils by vote. The general fund's deficit averaged $4.3 million, and all funds together adopted were $5.1 million average per year. This year's projected and acknowledged deficit is $2.1 million. Next, the importance of these figures is that they are the requested expenditures which the city uses to compute our taxes. However, the city staff have been incapable of spending all allocated funds. So why tax residents on projected expenditures never even used? Next slide. Slide 2 from the audited reports, that's what the annual audit is, shows a slight surplus of $167,000 per year average in the general fund alone. The general fund surplus is what the council has shown to argue there is no problem. Next slide. On slide 3, it shows those deficits from the adopted budgets in graphic form to what you will vote on. Next slide. Slide 4 shows all funds average deficit. That's the $5.1 million average per year over 7 years. Next slide. This slide shows the more manageable deficit of only $51,000 per year from the audit in another, but yet still another deficit. Next slide. And slide 6 graphs the deficits of all funds and leads us back to taxes and to the vote you will take or not to collect a substantial portion of residents' income. I implore you to lean towards compassion for the very people you were elected to represent, instead of blindly following the unrealized pipe dreams and wishes of those we pay. Demand accountability for the $7 million bond for the library that is currently estimated to cost $17 million. Why add another $90,000 to the still unstarted police atrium that was allocated $427,000 in FY19 for completion in that fall of 19, when so many police expenditures based on unrealizable revenue from the red light camera fund not yet even charted? Lastly, I just want to say that I saw that the average impact per household would be $161. I will make $61.90 more in Social Security this year from last year. And I will take home, after Medicare and taxes, $37.40. So there are people, and I am one of the beneficiaries of largesse of a lucky life. And there are people that are doing far worse. And these are the people that we have to stand for. These are the people you were represented to represent. And I implore you, just do the right thing. Be fair. Nobody's telling you to throw people in the street, but don't let our neighbors be thrown in the street either. I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Huebner. Next up is Elizabeth Wallace.
Good evening, Council. Elizabeth Wallace, Ward 1. I'm here to share some of my thoughts on one of the Tacoma Park Police Department's requests for equipment. I'm only going to handle one tonight. Specifically, $20,000 to purchase 4 rifle-rated ballistic shields to assure quick access when needed. I support equipment to maintain... Sorry. I'm sorry.
No swearing.
my phone is doing something. Yeah, my phone has,
Can we
erased what I was
stop her timer? Miss
Yeah.
Wallace, would you like to get your statement back up, and then we can have you
Yeah,
come back up and move to the next, we can move to the next person?
It's up.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it ready?
it's up.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope it stays up. Anyway,
Let's
thank
get
you.
the clock back.
Thank you. I support equipment to maintain the safety of our officers and believe they deserve proper protection, just like my kids do at work. And I would like the city council to lead a thorough conversation with the chief regarding the following points, because every penny counts. 1, how many shields does the police department currently own, if any? Why do they need 4 specifically? Will you ask for more in the future? Is this just the beginning? How is quick access defined? Given their bulk, will these be stored at the precinct rather than in the trunks of cramped patrol vehicles? How quick can quick be? What historical data exists regarding the use of high-velocity rifles in Tacoma Park or during mutual aid calls in Prince George's and Montgomery counties? Can the department substantiate the $5,000 per unit cost when other options range from $2,000 to $5,000? Bulletproof vests are $300 to $1,000. Hidden costs. What are the anticipated costs for the team-based tactical training required to use these shields effectively? They're usually a team-based effort. Deployment. What exactly constitutes a high-risk event? And is the department willing to establish a written policy to prevent overuse? Are there specific statistics on calls for service involving armed persons, violent crimes, or near-miss incidents that justify this purchase as a preventative measure? And how will the department balance the use of shields with de-escalation training? Oversight and transparency. To ensure these shields remain defensive tools rather than symbols of over-militarization, if you decide to approve, ask that you discuss the following oversight measures with the chief. For example, create a detailed policy specifying that shields are for defensive cover or rescue, not aggressive dynamic entry. Deployment reporting. Require a report every time a shield is deployed to ensure de-escalation protocols were followed. And transparency. Submitting quarterly reports to a public board to ensure equipment use aligns with community values. Well-defined policies can turn this hardware into a controlled, transparent tool that protects both our officers and our democratic framework. But you have to ask these questions and more, and in turn receive detailed answers as well as policies, not promises, not just smiles, but signatures. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Tom Gagliardo.
Good evening, Tom Gagliardo, Ward 1. Before I begin my prepared remarks, I just want to note that what Brendan Smith told us tonight makes these remarks all the more important and dealing with the city finances all the more urgent. On December 10, oops, now my phone's going to act up. Yeah, you're doing that on purpose.
It's the universe.
It's the universe, okay.
We'll stop the clock.
All right,
You got it?
I'm okay.
You sure? All right.
Yes.
Okay, let's get it
Okay.
back up.
All right. I'm glad we can laugh every once in a while. On December 10, 2025, the mayor and council adopted Resolution 2025-40, directing the city manager to propose a budget consistent with the council's priorities. 5 council members voted yes. Council members Landman and Schlegel abstained, and I'm glad that they did. Among the whereas clauses, you declared, 1, the city council's budget priorities do not establish the final FY 2027 budget tax rate. 2, the council may revisit the budget priorities as it deems necessary to make changes or adjustments. And 3, the council requests, and this is a quote, requests that staff present cost estimates and feasibility assessments for implementing budget priorities, which will allow the council, and again I quote, consider any further cost-saving measures. The resolution then instructed the city manager to propose a budget that, one, would continue current fiscal year city services and include the potential staff identified cost-saving measures, and two, to maintain the 55.22 cent tax rate. This leads me to ask three questions. One, as in past years, the city newsletter headline reads, quote, no increase in property taxes. I'm sorry, let me try again. No increase in property tax rate in proposed FY27 budget. Do you agree that even maintaining the FY26 tax rate will mean an increase in property taxes paid? That's a simple yes or no. Two, what is the total dollar amount of the cost-saving measures identified by the city staff? And three, will you, as our elected representatives, call for any reductions in the city manager's proposed budget and reduce the tax rate? That too is a simple yes or no answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Jim Della Giacomo.
Thank you, Mayor. I've gone old school, piece of paper, large font, it helps. Jim Della Giacomo, Ward 2, representing no one. Thank you to the city staff who prepared the budget, but also to all the city staff who work for us. I think that has been noted that that's under discussion to provide fair wages. You know, the budget gives us a window into what's going on in the city, and there's a lot. There's 170 staff working for us, for the residents, and I appreciate that. So I want to give some general comments about the way I look at the budget. I'm not going to put up a presentation which I can't read, but with a lot of numbers. But I think to look at it in three ways, as I've said before. Does it make us safe? Does it keep us financially sound? And does it maintain the same level of services? You know, I paid my federal taxes today. I'm self-employed. I'm not happy about that and some of the money it goes to. But I think when I look at Tacoma Park, I see, you know, the police department that does a good job. I'm on the police chief's advisory board. I'm not going to sort of Monday morning quarterback anything. But I think we have a police department which we are able to influence and has a quality of service that we would not get from the county. But we need to look at safety more broadly. Sidewalks, you know, that's a very important part of it. I walked down Flower Avenue today. I did it yesterday. You know, that makes us safe. Cycleways, I'm a cyclist. They keep us safe. They keep children safe. They keep dog walkers safe. They keep elderly people and people with disabilities. And then we need to understand them as not an option that we throw away in each budget process to make it fit, but to something that keeps us safe, and traffic studies add to that as well. You know, and a shout out to the Garland Avenue sidewalk that is in the budget. And I think we are in other wards, we didn't have some of the sidewalks that Ward 3 and Ward 1 have, and I appreciate that happens. That's coming down the pike, or coming down in financial year 2027. So I think if we don't keep the budget sound, if we cut now, we're going to have to raise taxes later. And that, I think, is, yes, the property values are going up, but that's in some ways, we are a victim of our own success here in Tacoma Park. But, you know, having a sound policy, looking ahead, understanding what the consultants said in their January report, that if we do not keep it fiscally sound, we will have problems in the future. And finally, on services, to our new resident who spoke earlier, you know, welcome. If you've got children, I recommend the library. It's a great place for young families. The rec department has been really great to our kids. My kids now are off on the way to college or in college, and we're not using those services, but I still support them, because that's what makes a welcoming city, and that's what makes Tacoma Park great. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any other public comments or public hearing statements? Has anyone else signed up? No. Okay. We're just gonna, if you didn't sign up, it's okay. Come on down. Oh, okay. There's another sign-up sheet.
Hello, hi. My name's Megan Scribner, and I'm a resident of Ward 1. As you work on the budget and find out how to cut costs, I urge you to carefully review the size and scale of our police force and make decisions based on our needs, the size of our city, the kind of crime we have, and what we can afford. Doug Abrams' Tacoma Park Record article, Big Police Force for Small City, compared our force to those of Rockville and Gaithersburg. Tacoma Park employs about 65 officers and other staff to police the city's 17,856 residents in a space taking up less than 2.1 square miles. In contrast, Rockville has a police staff of 99 for a city of over 68,000 and taking up 13.6 square miles. And Gaithersburg has 89 police employees in a city of over 70,000 with 10.4 square miles. He also reported that according to police spokespeople from each city, the Gaithersburg Police Department uses 76 vehicles for its 69 sworn officers. In Rockville, the police department uses 79 vehicles for its 71 sworn officers. And Tacoma Park has 58 vehicles for its 43 sworn officers. In each case, Tacoma Park, a much smaller city, has a significantly higher percentage of police staff and vehicles. In judging how many staff, vehicles, and other equipment is actually needed, you need to understand the types and level of crime in Tacoma Park compared to other jurisdictions and what is needed to respond to these crimes. Abrams reported that Tacoma Park crime is down and that 95% of the city's crimes involve property, burglaries, robberies, and motor vehicle thefts. The question is whether tackling these crimes justifies a significantly higher percentage of supervisors, staff, regular staff, police vehicles, and additional equipment on the police department's list for the coming year. To accurately judge this, you need to evaluate data on response times, crime-solving rates, and other important data. I recommend reading Abrams' article for more details above and its comparison on other issues. Given our population, the size of our city, and what is generally recommended for cities of our size and is in place in significantly larger and nearby cities, and the high level of taxes on us, I urge you to re-examine what level of policing we actually need, the number of vehicles per officer we need, the equipment that's actually relevant to our needs here, and what we can afford. It's really important. We are really taxed beyond belief. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public hearing comments? Going once, going twice. Come on, ADO.
Arthur David Olson, Ward 4, Herbie Hancock Avenue. It's easy to dismiss my concerns as unrepresentative of the entire community because I'm an old white guy who attends a lot of city council meetings. But I'm not rich. Montgomery County characterizes me as very low income. And I'm not a homeowner. I rent in Councilmember Gibson's Ward 4, Gilbert's Ward 4, Gibson's Ward 4, one of the two, in Montgomery Housing Partnership MHP building. So I hope I'm more representative than a first glance would indicate. Since I'm in an MHP building that's not subject to rent control, my rent went up by 5.8% in December of 2024 and 5.7% last December, for a total increase of about $150 a month. Not all of that increase is due to city property tax, but since MHP does not pay county property tax on the building, it's a bigger share of the increase than properties that are taxed by the county. While my rent went up about $150 in the last 2 years, my monthly take-home federal retirement check went up by about $70. $80 less than the rent increase. You might guess that I don't engage in much frivolous spending. So that means finding $80 a month worth of non-frivolous cuts. In the past, I've heard elected officials opposing raising taxes on businesses because those increases simply get passed on to customers. Alas, that's true for taxes on rental properties as well. The increases simply get passed on to renters. I know firsthand that it's unpleasant to make budget cuts. But given the city situation, they're inevitable one way or another. If you don't make cuts in the city budget, I and people like me are forced to make them in our personal budgets. Last fall, in comments, I provided some ideas for budget cuts and invited folks on the council to come up with ideas. I hope you'll share your ideas. I hope some of them will be made part of the adopted budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other? Come on down.
Evening. I appreciate, Shayna Fulcher, Ward 1. Appreciate some of what I've heard tonight about, possibly looking at the numbers of our police department. However, I do not think that Tacoma Park is geographically similar to Rockville or Gaithersburg, with us sharing a border to DC and to Prince George's County. I think we're more similar to Silver Spring, where I do see a lot of crime that, can make me uncomfortable. I'm wondering if anyone has asked the police chief how the budget might better support our priorities for the 30 by 30 for recruiting more women to our police department. I know that we've seen a lot in this room recently about what happened in that department, and increasing women there would be a better way to approach problems like that. And then I'm also wondering where in the budget we're better supporting economic development. I would rather see us growing as a city economically in order to decrease that tax burden on residents. So I would like to see that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments, public hearing comments? Okay, seeing none, any virtual?
We do have one virtual comment.
Okay.
It's Grace Giraldi.
Hello.
Hello, Grace, we can hear you.
Great. Hi. Thank you. I just wanted to make a couple of brief comments about the budget. I did read the article that came out yesterday comparing Tacoma Park's police force and the cost of it with Rockville and Gaithersburg. And it was enlightening and sort of confirmed what I suspected and had been feeling, and that is that for such a small city, we seem to have become over-policed. And when I first moved to Tacoma Park in 1996, as a renter, we lived here for a year, and then we bought a house on Parkside Road in Silver Spring. So we moved 3 blocks up Piney Branch Road into Silver Spring, into Montgomery County, in Montgomery County, where we were serviced by the Montgomery County Police Sheriff's Department. And it was perfectly satisfactory. Literally 1 block over. Mississippi Avenue is in Tacoma Park. Parkside Road is in Silver Spring. And we had no complaints at all with our police department there. And what I would like to see is for the council and the mayor to give serious consideration to a longer term plan, maybe a 5-year plan, to move our police department or merge it with the county, because it seems as though it's unnecessary since all of Tacoma Park is in Montgomery County. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other virtual comments? No. Great.
Okay, that concludes our public hearing this evening. We are going to move to our voting session this evening. The first item is a resolution of appreciation to the District 20 delegation for leading the effort to obtain $500,000 for the Metropolitan Branch Trail. And so I'm going to read the resolution aloud because we want to make sure that we're able to show our appreciation for District 20. Resolution recognizing the Maryland District 20 team for their legislative advocacy and funding for the Metropolitan Branch Trail upgrades. Whereas the city of Tacoma Park is committed to enhancing public safety and accessibility by upgrading its portion of the Metropolitan Branch Trail to better serve pedestrians and cyclists. And whereas the representatives of the District 20 delegation, Senator Smith and Delegates Wilkins, Moon, and Charkoudian, through their leadership and advocacy, secured $500,000 in state funding in the fiscal year 2027 capital budget to support this vital project. And whereas the District 20 delegation consistently demonstrated a steadfast commitment to the growth and well-being of the residents of the city of Tacoma Park. And whereas the funds provided by the state of Maryland will be used to improve trail connectivity between Washington, D.C. and Silver Spring, thereby benefiting the broader community and promoting sustainable transportation. And whereas in addition to their support for the Metropolitan Branch Trail, the District 20 delegation has played a vital role in securing funding for the construction of the Tacoma Park Library, advancing the design of the Public Works Facility, and supporting the renovation of the atrium, therefore demonstrating their dedication to the city's infrastructure and community spaces. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Tacoma Park officially expresses its deepest gratitude and commendation to Senator Will Smith, Delegate Laura Charkoudian, Delegate David Moon, and Delegate Janelle Wilkins for their dedication and outstanding service to the residents of Tacoma Park. And be it further resolved that this resolution will be entered into the official records of the city of Tacoma Park as a lasting acknowledgement of the Maryland District 20 team's invaluable support and advocacy. So would someone like to move the resolution recognizing the Maryland District 20 team? Thank you, Councilmember DeBala. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Honzak. All those in favor of the resolution recognizing the Maryland District 20 team for their legislative advocacy and funding the Metropolitan Branch Trail upgrades, please say aye.
Aye.
Do you have any opposed? Any abstain?
All right.
Moves forward. And we will make sure that our legislative advocate and CCOT will share, we'll make sure that we get the resolution to the D20 team. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our budget items this evening. The first is the American Rescue Plan Act fund budget.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we are at the home stretch on the ARPA dollars. So just a brief overview. In March 2021, the American Rescue Plan was signed into law, which provided $350 billion to.
Could I please ask you to be closer to the mic? Thank you.
Let's see. How about now? Okay. So it provided, the law provided $350 billion to pandemic-related aid to states and localities. In March 2022, the council adopted an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for ARPA-funded projects in anticipation of an ARPA award. This was after a much community discussion and community meetings. Subsequently, the city received approximately $17.5 million in two increments. In two equal increments. The ARPA fund has generated $500,000 in interest income between FY24 and 25. We are projecting an interest income of approximately 110 between FY26 and 27. As far as deadlines, December 31st, 2024 was the deadline for the obligation of the 100% of the funds, which we have met. December 21st, 2026 is the deadline for 100% expenditures of the funds, and we are on our way there. The FY '27 budget reflects $193,000 in expenditure for salaries and benefits. Final ARPA grant fund reconciliation will occur via budget amendment in early FY 2027 as part of the grant closeout. The city intends to ensure to spend that 100% of the ARPA funds are spent and that we are not returning any funds to the Treasury. I can't get this away. So again, just the background, Tacoma Park uses its ARPA funds to fight pandemic and support families and businesses struggling with public health and economic impacts, maintain vital public services, even amid declines in revenue, build strong, resilient, and equitable recovery by making investments that support long-term growth and opportunities. And also as permitted by the Treasury Department, the city also used the funds to fund city revenue losses and city operational expenses, excluding debt service. So what that means is that it may have funded positions that didn't necessarily have direct work on the ARPA grant. So it was Treasury allowed for cities and municipalities to use the funds to cover revenue loss, and that's what we did here. So the 17.5 million, they were boiled down to 6 programs: affordable housing, small business recovery, social service partnerships, family resilience programs, city operations, and community anchors. So here's how we allocated. We allocated the majority of the funds for city operations, which that includes admins, sidewalks, so capital projects, automation programs, and operational enhancements, such as automating our HR process, payroll process. The next big bucket was in community anchors, and that includes projects like the library, public space management, and the rec center repairs. The next the next largest pot, 11%, was affordable housing, and specific projects in that include energy efficiency upgrades, multifamily rehab, and emergency rental and utility assistance. The next one is social services, which was 9% of the funds, and that was largely the direct assistance program that we funded. The 6% represents family resilience programming, and that includes food insecurity programming, recreation scholarships, and community quality of life grants. And finally, 3%, which equates to $487,000, we spent on small business recovery efforts. The next steps, so we've got 3 quarterly reports to do. I am working on one right now to report on the first quarter of calendar year 2026. That report is due on the 30th, and then I have another one in July, October, and December, and that's because we anticipate spending the money through December, and we have 30 days to report out on the last reporting period. Following that, we'll bring forth to council the first budget amendment, which may include, will probably include ARPA accounting adjustments. We will complete a reconciliation of expenditures, which we call true up, following the final quarterly report. So that's probably going to be more in 2027, calendar 2027, which is FY 2027. The process, just FYI, is once we close out our final report, in this case will be January 21st, we'll get an invitation from the Treasury Department to close out, and then there's a process that we have to follow to close out the funds, the program. We will, again, be spending the remaining ARPA funds by December 2026. So even though I'll be reporting on January 2021, there is no flexibility. The funds will have to be spent by the 31st, and we will be doing that. And then we may bring forth to council potential final ARPA reconciliation. And that is essentially if we have to move around expenses from one account to another to show the expenditure, we would need to do that through a budget amendment process. And then we'll close out the ARPA grant pursuant to the Treasury Department's protocol and prepare for potential post-grant audit. We have to keep our files ready for audit for 5 years after the program, and so it'll be a busy year. That's what we'll be working on. Any questions? Please let me know.
Thank you so much, Councilmember DeBala.
Yeah, I had a question, a factual question on city operations. So what I remember from the beginning of the ARPA discussions was that there were losses that the city incurred. Recreation comes to mind. If the city's closed, there are no recreation programs and there's no recreation income. And there were a number of things like that. And so is that included in city operations, the actual losses that were incurred?
They were. We had budgeted 1.19 million, and we have so far spent 1.18 of that. So yes.
Okay, so over $1 million.
That's correct.
Of this operations is literally lost income.
Yes, it's a lost revenue.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember DeBala. Councilmember Schlegel.
Yes, thank you for this presentation. And I'll share it with residents. Is the 193,000 then the remaining portion that would be allocated in the FY27 budget, and that reaches 100% of the spend down?
So the 193 represents the salary line item that we'll be spending down through FY27. So yes, in FY27 we'll be spending that.
And are there any other funds also that will be spent down in other budgetary categories in FY27 still?
Yes, things that we're wrapping up. For example, the comp and class study. We've got a few invoices that we haven't paid yet, so we'll be completing those out.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilmember Schlegel. Councilmember Honzak.
Thank you so much. Could you just speak in a little bit more detail? And I'm sorry if if I haven't remembered what we've already talked about, but I just want to make sure I'm very, very clear on what the plan is in FY27 and as we move into the next year for the positions that were specifically added to our staff with ARPA funding. I know that we ended up sort of doing some cost sharing with certain positions, so that makes it a little complicated. But at the end of the day, we did add FTEs. That's why we got Andrew initially on staff as the ARPA manager, et cetera. So if you could just speak to that pretty clearly, and if the city manager needs to step in, that's great too. I know this is a point that's come up several times. I just want to make sure we're all very clear. Thank you.
Sure. Do you want to speak on that, City Manager?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. There were some funds, some positions that were filled with ARPA funds. As of the current FY26 budget, some of those are fully funded by ARPA presently, and some are partially. We're proposing in this FY27 budget utilization of just some of the remaining dollars just to continue through, given our ability, through December 31st of this year, which is the latest that ARPA funds can be spent. But for the second half of FY27, all of that would be general fund. And referring to the Mayor and Council's budget resolution late last year, direction to staff, there was a stated desire that those positions that have been funded with ARPA money to date, which reflect general fund expense, if we can find general fund, permanent, sustainable general fund offsets for that, then it's not necessary to eliminate positions. And those positions are all functional, they're all filled, They're very productive, and it's at least my recommendation that these positions continue because they are, again, functional, productive, and they're meeting needs in IT and in finance, in the city manager's office. So this budget has identified sustainable general fund offsets for any of those. And again, some are fully funded by ARPA presently, and some partially. And I've got a little bit more information that's coming to council because we found some additional sustainable general fund savings, and I'm packaging that up as information to the council and the public very shortly.
Thank you. I do appreciate that explanation, and I am cognizant as I say these words, there are real people serving in real positions, so I'm sorry to have this conversation so publicly. I do want it to be stated, however, that when we came into the ARPA funding initially, it was definitively and absolutely my understanding as a council member that these were new positions brought on to manage the ARPA funding itself. And at the moment, we have a larger than normal budget because we're still managing the ARPA funding. So I think it's absolutely reasonable that we have a higher staffing, per dollar that we have to spend, because it takes people to spend money and spend it responsibly. I do think that we need to have it is my opinion, and it's just me, but that we need to have a very serious conversation about the increase in FTEs going into the future, when I guess I have trouble. I can understand that we're using these FTEs, and I very much value the work that whoever is sitting in those positions is doing. I'm sure it is integral to the team. At the same time, I think it's really important that we have an honest dialogue about the fact that these were added to our staff at the time that ARPA funding came in, and that we need to think about. I'm not personally comfortable with just saying that we're finding offsets, but that's my opinion.
In the current, last year's budget, this year's budget, and proposed next year's budget, we're reflecting net decrease in FTEs. So I understand what you're saying in context of going further back with respect to when ARPA money first arrived, but we are showing no increase, much unlike almost any other city, actual decreases in FTE hours for the last fiscal year, for the current fiscal year, and I'm proposing for the next fiscal year. We're trying and showing general fund offsets, and that's a way to not add expense to the general fund, which is the one fund that affects the property tax.
I'm not sure if I totally understood what you're saying. Are you saying that you anticipate that in FY28 that we would go back to an FTE count that would look similar to where we were before we got the ARPA dollars, or no?
No.
Okay, because you
No.
found offsets.
And the task in FY28, to the extent that we're only looking at, we're sort of solving an equation for half a fiscal year with FY27.
Right.
In FY28, it's a full year,
Mhm.
and I'm fully recognizing that part of my challenge is to find additional sustainable general fund reductions so that we don't have to tap the general fund, that the property tax thus would not be affected by the continuance of any positions.
I invite any other fellow council members to speak. I don't want to dominate.
Thank you, Councilmember Hanzak. Councilmember Schlegel.
Thank you. I wanted to be clear because I was not on the city council in the previous term. So was there a point in time when a past city council approved or directed the transition of these ARPA-funded positions into other duties?
That's not our job.
I don't quite understand the question. Transfer them into other duties. I will say that the prior council, when we were making decisions regarding how we wanted the ARPA dollars to be leveraged, there were a number of things, including the direct cash assistance program
and the reporting requirements for just the ARPA management at large, the federal reporting requirements, that it was recommended by staff that we make sure that we have additional staff on hand to help manage with that extra workload, because there was a real concern. For example, with the direct cash assistance program, we wanted to make sure that we were crossing our T's and dotting our I's because we are talking about federal funds. And also in terms of the reporting requirements and the accounting that was necessary to make sure that we were managing a dollar amount that for a city our size was a really significant amount of money. So there was a desire to make sure that we had some additional support in finance, someone in the city manager's office that could help with kind of managing and keeping track of all of the federal requirements, keeping in mind at the time, folks at the federal level were building the plane and flying the plane at the same time. So we'd receive the monies or the allocation before we had all of the regulations regarding those funds available. So there was just a lot of things in flux. So if your question is, did prior council know and okay for there to be temporary staff, which was an allowable expense under ARPA to manage the funds, then yes, there was a discussion of that.
Thank you, Mayor Searcy. I'm fully aware of the purpose for the positions as they were created and the accounting and direct cash assistance, the need for people to handle all that complexity and the unknowns. What I'm asking is, as those workloads reduced, wrapped up, or fell over time, did the council ever affirmatively say, please keep these positions, but begin putting them towards other roles?
I think that there was, with the prior city manager, a reallocation of positions that was a request. So there was, I believe, a data analyst position within the city manager's office, in addition to the need for the ARPA person. And they said, okay, if we don't hire this person and instead transfer that FTE towards this other position that we think is really needed, combined with the ARPA funds, would you be okay with that? Because the reason it came to the council, because according to our code, you can't restructure, like our city management can't go through an organizational restructuring, which was in essence the creation of that second deputy city manager position, without making council aware that that was something that we were doing and how they were going to do it. So at that time, we were made aware that there was a reallocation of permanent FTE in addition to the ARPA funds, but there was always an understanding that was very clear that the ARPA funds were going to expire and that there was going to have to be a way to come up with the extra resources necessary to cover the fact that those ARPA funds were expiring. And so one of the points that I want to talk a little bit about is, we're talking about the management of the ARPA funds expiring, but to some degree, many of the programs that were developed as part of our use of those ARPA funds are remaining. So some of our HCD grants, for example, that got their start through ARPA are now being continuing through a different lens using state funds. So I do think it's important for folks to understand that although the management in December, because again, we're in this weird place where you still have to manage all of this stuff financially through the end of the calendar year. But the bigger thing too is that there's still the use of the ARPA funds created a foundation for additional programs that the city still has in place today, although we're going through a process of using state funds and other funds to do it. I think it is important for folks to understand that ARPA wasn't just a kind of one and done for the city. It was a leg up for some really important programs that we were able to stand up And I'm hoping to continue to build upon as a result of the influx of funds that we receive.
Thank you. So are the general fund offsets, Manager DeSpirito, are the offsets sustainable in the sense of keeping pace with the typical rate of increase in personnel costs over the long term?
Well, what I plan to bring is a level of cuts that exceed what the personnel component would have been. And so in that respect, because those are sustainable reductions, in that sense, those are large expenses that will no longer be necessary to budget for. So, and I think that in that respect, that can help encompass any inflationary impact that naturally happens over time with positions, cost of living increases for employees and things like that. I think that, again, the whole idea is to try and make sure that we have true offset and that it's sustainable in the general fund. And that's what what I'm proposing in this budget, and that will be my challenge to propose in subsequent budgets.
Okay, and how are these offsets that you're finding different from the efficiency seeking measures that you said already in the fall that you and your staff were combing through and discussing and listening to employees and seeking out possibilities for?
Well, some efficiencies are short-term and some are long-term. Some are small, some are large. These meet, I believe, the council's letter and intent in the budget resolution that talked about identify alternatives to increases in the general fund to support FTEs that leverage ARPA funds that expire at the end of the year. So, we're always looking for efficiencies, yes, but we're especially happy when we can find ones that have been long-term, I'll say significant expenses to the city that we have found ways to avoid having to spend in the future. And so that's what I'm looking for and have identified some. And we'll share that information very shortly, as we just had some recent information on how we can do even more of that. But in concept, that's what that is. That is an offset to the general fund expense.
And when will the offsets be shared?
Shortly. I'm in the process of writing it up right now.
Will they?
They will be a part of the reconciliation conversations
Yes.
that we will be having on Monday.
Yep.
Maybe not all, because it's important for everybody to understand we have 3 reconciliation work sessions.
Right.
And typically what happens during the process is staff, over the course of not only council members presenting their reconciliation items, staff are constantly reviewing the budget and will put together likely a suite of their own reconciliation items.
So we have a deadline for submitting our reconciliation items, but are we still able to respond to
It's
the
for,
changes
yeah,
that happen?
that deadline is only for those reconciliation items that you all want to make sure that everybody's aware of for for next Monday's meeting, just so that staff will have enough time to kind of write up what those items are. We have 3 reconciliation meetings. Ideally, folks would submit your reconciliation items early, like maybe in reconciliation meeting 1 or 2, 1 and 2, so that folks will have a little bit more time to play around with them if need be. But we do have 3 reconciliation work sessions.
Okay, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Councilmember DeBala.
Yeah, to the question of the ARPA funding for the positions. So at the time, I was thinking that the funding and the positions were temporary. However, a few things have changed over time, and one is there's been some shifting around of different positions. For example, retiring the records, the one you mentioned, the data person. And so it's not a clear one-for-one anymore, the way it had been originally in my mind. The other thing that the mayor pointed out, which I was going to say also, is needs have changed, programs have changed. So here we are in another crisis that looks an awful lot like the COVID crisis, and a lot of the things that we thought were temporary, that we were using ARPA money for, are not anymore, and we need staff to do that. So I'm looking at it differently than I did, and I still very much think that we need to keep within the amount of money that we had. You know, we're not trying to blow up the budget by keeping positions, funding them in a different way. And so I appreciate and look forward to seeing how the additional positions that are the pieces of positions that are left get funded, how you're proposing to do it. But I understand that you've got a plan for it, and I think that's why we have a city manager, to make choices like this. If it's more important to have more support in what we all knew a few years ago were underfunded divisions like finance and IT. We knew that. We just weren't doing anything about it. If that's important enough, and funny how good people make themselves useful and do work that we didn't imagine existed 5 years ago, particularly in IT, for example, and in some of the modernization of finance. So I don't see it as so simple as I did before, is what I'm trying to say, where it's like, here's the box is over because ARPA's over. I also think that it makes sense to keep capacity around, because what are the chances that we're going to get audited? I mean, I don't think this is over in December.
It's definitely not over. At least 5 years we have to maintain. We can expect an audit anytime between December of next year, this year, and 5 years.
Yes, I'm happy to talk to you more about it, but I just wanted to share, having been around at the time, and at the time having thought that this was, quote, temporary.
Thank
what
you.
I'm thinking now.
And could you just clarify when you said about capacity? You said, I think it makes sense to keep capacity around. I just wanted to make sure I understood what you said.
I don't actually remember saying that.
You said,
specific
I
word.
think it makes sense to keep capacity around because what are the chances that this is over in
Oh,
December?
yeah,
Did you
some
mean like
the
the regional crisis and that sort of thing?
No,
or-
I mean the financial and IT piece in particular, supporting the bookkeeping for ARPA.
Oh, okay.
Because of the record keeping that continues, in my view, because of record keeping that continues, and I've been getting the emails, so I know that this is the case, that after December of this year, there's still reports and there's still accounting and there's still stuff going on. It doesn't, the money disappears, but the responsibilities for keeping track of that money don't go away. I also do think personally that the chances are that a city like ours might wind up on an audit list. It's just a gut feeling I have right now. But let's hope that doesn't happen, because that would really be a lot of work.
Yeah.
But we would need to be ready for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember DeBala. Councilmember Hanzak.
Just one last word on this for the moment. With all due respect to the city manager, the mayor, as well as to the particular staff who we are talking about, who are, again, are real people, and I deeply respect you and the work that you do. And like Councilmember DeBala said, I am positive that good people make themselves useful. And that's part of the challenge that I see. I do think it's very dangerous to creep up FTEs. We've heard a lot of folks coming out, whether you do or don't agree with the thesis that they've put forward. And I don't always agree with some of those about whether we have too many FTEs, because we do have an unusually large budget for a population size that we have. But I do think it's worth mentioning that, when we got the ARPA funding, we got $8.7 million in FY22, $8.7 million in FY2023. That's about a 27% increase over our annual budget each of those years. That is not going to continue no matter what kind of programs we have. And I don't feel comfortable at all being responsible with our budget and saying that universally I can feel responsible as a council member saying that our FTEs should go up, but it's a complex matter. I will be the first to admit that FTEs do shuffle around. We have different kinds of people in different capacities, but at the end of the day, this council said these were temporary positions in order to manage that 27% increase in budget. And I don't think that our budget has gone up in a meaningful and significant way to justify the full maintenance of that in FY28. And whether or not I am on council, I just want that to be on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Honzak. And I just want to speak to the fact that what was, in my understanding, very clear when we talked about the budget. Sorry, this conversation has gone well over the allotted time. But what I thought was pretty clear in my feedback to the city manager regarding the budget priorities was I didn't want to see an increase in FTE. Now, I want to give you the flexibility to figure out how you're going to do that. Do you have a vacancy over here in a corner somewhere that no one ever uses, and you're moving them over, and you have half of a person over here that you don't necessarily need, and you're bringing them over? Go right ahead. And so I think that that is something that I believe the city manager and the work that you all have been doing and kind of looking through your reviewing your budget to make sure that you can have that longer tail use of reallocation of resources for these particular positions in question. I just want to make sure that that is what I understood the city manager to mention, and that we would do a bit of a deeper dive in terms of some of the efficiencies, that they're not just related to cost of particular supplies or things like that, although it could be related to it, but it could also be the reallocation of underutilized FTE that would ultimately result in us not seeing an increase in FTE. Am I thinking about that correctly?
Yeah, part of what I'm proposing is a reduction in FTE part-time hours from recreation and from communications. It hasn't all been increase in FTE. Matter of fact, again, the last three budgets have been, last two budgets and the proposed one are all reductions in FTEs. But even if you just go back further, one of those was a pure swap for a vacancy, okay? And then another one was a 0.5 swap, half of a position. And that was a position that existed but was unfilled in finance that became a 1 instead of a 0.5, but that 0.5 existed and was funded by the general fund prior to ARPA. So it's not not all of these positions are, even through the arc of ARPA funding and spending, it's, not all of these positions that currently have some use of ARPA money. Some of that existed, some of those FTEs pre-existed ARPA. So it's complicated, but it's accurate, and I'll be able to show that.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Lamon?
Just first, let me say I share Councilmember Honzak's view that this is about human beings. It's not some hypothetical discussion, and that I want to preface what I'm about to say with that. But I was uncomfortable with the way City Manager Despirito, that you initially characterized the instructions that you thought that we had given you through the priority setting process, because I thought that those instructions were really about the FTE size itself and reverting to the pre-ARPA situation. And just now when you were characterizing it, I'm not clear on what you were saying being about. We're getting closer to understanding based on the mayor's recent question, but when you were talking about finding offsets.
Yeah, I was reading from the resolution that council approved in December. It says, quote, identify alternatives to increases in the general fund to support FTEs that leverage ARPA funds that expire at the end of the year.
I don't have the language in front of me, but the discussion then was very much about the issue of the the staffing levels. And so you may be right that the language of the resolution that you're just reading is less clear on that point. That would be, that wouldn't be the first time that, that we may have missed an opportunity to be more clear in the resolution. But I think my point right now is that identifying other types of cost savings that such a high percentage of our budget is personnel related that it's important that we think about the implications of retaining positions as opposed to, finding, cost savings in stuff or capital expenditures. So it's late in the game. You have been telling us that we were going to see your suggestions on how this would all play out. And as we get closer and closer to the date when reconciliation is to occur, and we haven't yet had an opportunity to consider those factors, it's becoming more and more difficult for us to do our job, or at least that's how I feel about it, to understand where all the cards will fall when they hit the table. So I would, when you said we're very soon going to see it, is it this evening or is it imminent in our emails or?
Before the end of the week, yes.
Okay.
And as recently as this afternoon, I was receiving information from staff
Okay.
that would be relevant to this. And, I'm sorry it's a little bit late in the game, but we are also, and the upside is that we are finding, larger sustainable savings in the general fund that we can present to you for your consideration.
Well, that's exciting news too, so I appreciate that. Madam Mayor, you were saying that we can have more time for our reconciliation items. It's difficult to have our list be fully coherent without all that information. So I apologize in advance that mine are not going to be ready by the end of this week when we're not going to get this information till the end of this week. So that will make Monday's meeting on reconciliation, in a way, more difficult to carry out, I think, for me at least.
I think the big thing when we're talking about reconciliation, I know that there was a deadline put out there. I don't want everybody freaking out. You can announce a reconciliation item, even if you are unclear about it. You could say, hey, I have this bright idea for X. I don't know just yet about what I want to do about X, but I want to do something and I want to work with staff on it. So can you please put X on the reconciliation list? And that just gives staff a window into council member Y wants to potentially figure out some way to fund X, right? So it doesn't have to be completely baked. But it does provide staff with a window into what are some of the things that they may need to do some additional research on when it comes to ultimately us being able to talk through and vote through items that you may recommend for the reconciliation list. Again, it's a bit of an iterative process, so just know that it's going to be a back and forth over the next few weeks.
Right, and this was just an initial deadline, just to try and get some initial stuff where we could re-present that to you Monday night. But we've got, as Madam Mayor said, 2 more sessions, and we can collect reconciliation ideas continuously up until, certainly through the second reconciliation, and just continue to bring whatever ideas that you have and bring it to the attention of staff. This is not a end of the road type thing. Friday, that was just a initial collection of what some of your earliest thoughts might be.
Thank you. We have another presentation to get through this evening. So I'm going to ask folks to please limit the next couple of questions to just one question each, so that we can make sure that we can get to the rec department presentation. Councilmember Schlegel.
Briefly, I just wanted to agree with Councilmember Honzak's sentiments, both about the value of staff as people, and also to go on the record as saying that it's my view that we should not be adding positions ultimately, and that things do change over 5 years. All kinds of things are changing rapidly, but it would be my hope that we would have been transitioning people into new roles rather than adding new roles and keeping the old. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember DeBala.
Yeah, it may be too complicated to try this, but it would, if it's possible, to trace some of the positions and some of the switches and some of the reassignments of duties. So, for example, if you've got a finance person, another half a finance person, supposed to be on ARPA. Well, before they can do their job, there's all these other financial things that have to happen first. That person starts working on them, then trace a little bit of the switching. See if we can get to that point of, are we adding new positions or are we reassigning work? Some work is more important and other work is less important than it was 5, 7?
Right.
I have no
Yeah, and I
At the
certainly,
beginning.
I certainly want to reinforce that, in my view, none of these positions are make work. None of them are contrivances
think
in any
anybody's saying
respect. And I'm not saying anyone suggested that, but I just want to make it clear for the public and so forth. These are very productive, professional, talented employees who are doing, working long and hard, excessive hours to do the important functions that it takes to operate this government and provide quality services to our residents. And it's true that some needs have evolved over half a decade. IT, for example, cybersecurity is a whole nother thing today than it was half a decade ago. And, we've had, we ignore paying attention to that at our peril as an organization. We have a relatively small IT staff to begin with, and the challenges in that area are immense. And so, regardless of the degree to which that position may have been involved initially with ARPA management or ARPA support, nevertheless, the functions that these employees, and that one I just use as an example, but the finance position is much the same, where needs of the organization have evolved. Things are more complicated these days, not less complicated. There's more compliance, there's more reporting, there's more certifications. The need for these employees, in my opinion, is irrefutable. To not have any one of them is going to have a service impact. I'll just say it bluntly. And, thus I thought it's wise that council literally put in its resolution that you voted on, and majority approved, identify alternatives to increases in the general fund to support FTEs that leverage ARPA funds. And that's precisely what my team and I are trying to do. But we really appreciate your comments this evening, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. I apologize, council members, but we are well over time for this one, and we do have a couple people here to present for the rec department. If you have additional questions regarding the allocation of FTE and its potential impact on the total number of FTE within the budget, and I will just bring everyone's attention to the fact that the number of FTEs, as noted in the budget, has decreased over time. But if there's some specific questions regarding how that impacts the cost or how those allocations or redistribution of FTE have panned out in this budget, please feel free to send a question to Deputy City Manager Eubanks, and staff will work to answer that question and make sure they're prepared on Monday during budget reconciliation to dive deeper into that topic. With that, I'm going to turn things over to our Recreation Department.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello,
Can
Director
you hear me?
Clark. Yes, we can hear you.
How's everyone?
Doing well.
All right, we can get the presentation pulled up, or maybe I won't be able to see it. Awesome. Good evening, mayors and members of council. I'm Greg Clark, Director of Recreation, and I'll be presenting the Recreation Department's FY27 budget proposal. Joining me today is Deputy Director Debbie Huffman, who's in the chambers and will be ready to respond to questions at the conclusion of our presentation. Next two slides. All right. The Recreation Department enhances the quality of life in Tacoma Park by developing and providing creative, diversified, and safe programs and services that attract participants of all ages. And we deliver those programs and services effectively and efficiently. We actually have 9 separate divisions, and they are administration, youth outreach, Tacoma Park Recreation Center, community programs, athletic fields and facilities, camps, before and after school programs, the community center, and we now have a newly created seniors division where we separated seniors out. Next slide. The slide before you shows the department org chart, and for FY27, there are 18.95 FTEs proposed. And I'll go more into depth regarding the FTEs later on during our presentation. Next slide. Major programs and services. This slide is a list of the department's major programs and services. I think it's important to note that this list does not entail all of our programs and services that we offer. A few that I would like to highlight include our licensed summer camp programs, where during 8 or 9 weeks of the summer, we manage over 100 youth weekly from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., which is a huge task for our staff. I would also like to point out our child care program that takes place both at the Community and Recreation Center, where we offer before and after care for young people during the school year. With the 2 locations, there can be approximately 80 kids that staff provide after school activities to, that include homework assistance, contracted performers, arts and crafts, and even swimming while kids wait for their parents to pick them up. Lastly, I would like to highlight a few of our most popular programs, which include the department's special events, which we just had one on this past Saturday. Our annual egg hunt and our monster bash attract more than 1,000 patrons per program. Next slide. FY25 and 26 to date successes. Our department implemented new teen offerings this past fiscal year, including a DJ production class entitled Mix Masters. Staff was also able to increase teen lounge participation by over 30%. If you walk by the, which was the old game room, which we transitioned into the teen lounge right after school, you will see that increase of young people in that location. We also implemented an after-hours program during the summer months for young adults ages 16 to 24, where over 80 participants were registered and kept safe during those hours. Pickleball was a big winner as well, as we implemented a successful pickleball camp for seniors, as well as weekly drop-in programs that attracted over 25 participants per session. So pickleball is huge. Next slide. FY26 27 expenditure highlights. Recreation expenditures increased from FY26 to FY27 by 7%. And as I mentioned, our department FTEs actually decreased by 0.38, which is attributed to reduction in pool part-time staff workers. Our operating expenditures increased by a little over $27,000 for FY27. A 10.94% decrease in conferences and training for this coming fiscal year is attributed to the department staff sending staff to national training programs, as well as the department assisting and hosting a cross-departmental training with the cities of Rockville and Gaithersburg recreation departments. Those events will not take place in FY27. A 37.25% decrease in special events and programs is attributable to moving seniors to its own division, which is now recognized as 4,900 in the department budget. Funds were moved from 4,800, which is our community center division, to 4,900, the new seniors division, and placed in expense categories where dollars will actually be spent. So when the dollars for seniors was in 4,800, it was all under one thing, which is programs and special events. Moving divisions and spreading the funds across multiple expenditure codes subsequently increased services and charges by 24.98% as well, since we moved dollars from there. So next slide. This chart shows the actual expenditure totals for recreation and compares FY27 to FY26. And it also shows where we were in FY25. One thing that I would like to point out is the change from FY26 to FY27 for recreation. The percent change is only 7.04%. Next slide. FY27 FTEs. As I mentioned earlier, department FTEs decreased by 0.038 from FY26 to FY27. The decrease represents a reduction in pooled part-time staff. Total FTEs at the Recreation Center on New Hampshire Avenue decreased by 0.26 as part of this chart. Next slide, please. Youth camp FTEs are reduced by 0.28, and our before and after care FTEs increase by 0.08. Our newly created senior programs division, we've actually allocated a few staff for seniors, and they actually have 0.03 FTEs to begin with. The Media Lab will be coming back on board for the city and city residents, and there are 0.08 FTEs dedicated to assist with staffing that space. Overall, as I mentioned earlier, the department's FTEs decreased by 0.38%. 0.38 FTEs. Next slide, please. FY27 department revenues. This chart contains a few of the department's revenue categories and shows what was proposed for FY26, which is in the top left corner, and what we anticipate to receive in FY26, which is in the bottom left corner. As you see, there's a slight increase in what was proposed and what we anticipate to receive, and that's because we can't really accurately anticipate how many registrations we'll get for programs and things of that nature. This chart also indicates the total proposed revenue for FY27, which is at the top right, and lists a few, not all, categories containing the department's most popular programs, which are childcare, camps, sports, and classes. Next slide. It's another chart for budget for our revenues. This chart gives a summary of the Recreation Department's overall revenue to include the agreement that we have with the Montgomery County Recreation Department and funds we receive from programs, classes, and facility rentals. The column highlighted in red is what is proposed for FY27. And for those wondering, we currently receive $85,020 to operate the Recreation Center on New Hampshire Avenue from the Montgomery County Recreation Department. This chart also gives an indication of how much general fund dollars are used to supplement programs. If we were to calculate cost recovery, we're currently around 26% cost recovery, where the national average for municipal recreation departments is anywhere between 20 and 50%. Next slide, please. Recreation Department scholarships. Our scholarships is another factor that affects revenue that would have been added to the general fund. The chart before you indicates the number of scholarships the department provides residents in the calendar year 2024 and 2025. As you can see, the majority of the department scholarships were awarded to 100% recipients, and that number is increasing, slightly increasing. We offer scholarships for fee reductions of 20, 50, 70, and 100%. In FY24, residents in 2024, residents received a total of $133,814 in fee reductions. We provided access to additional families in FY25 or 2025 by awarding $162,395 worth of scholarships. In administering our scholarship program, the department follows the HUD requirements for income levels to qualify recipients. The city does not have a pot of money set aside to replenish the scholarship revenue. Because of this, there's not a limit on the number of scholarship recipients we can accept as part of our programming. So not having a pot of money is actually a good thing. And we do not have FY26 numbers or 2026 numbers on here because we are not yet finished with this year, and we'll be able to present those figures during next year's budget, or if council wishes at a separate time once 2026 ends. Next slide, please. Emerging challenges and opportunities. Lastly, there are several areas the department has identified as emerging opportunities and challenges, to include offering quarterly outreach events in hard to reach parts of the city. We also have new programming space in the community center. We have a multi-purpose room and a senior lounge where we can implement intergenerational programming and an opportunity to increase our partnerships and outreach with schools in the city. We see all of those as great opportunities that we'll be taking advantage of. In addition, there are a few areas that need attention, to include the replacement of the New Hampshire Avenue Recreation Center, ongoing facility reservations, and connecting with residents that we do not currently serve. And those ongoing facility reservations are in the community center. If you note, the teen lounge is, we actually will be losing access to the teen lounge. And we have moved into the game room, moved the teen lounge into the game room temporarily. The last opportunity is the expansion of our active adult leagues. Pickleball has taken off in Tacoma Park with our senior pickleball camp quickly filling, as well as our doubles pickleball tournament. We have also maxed out registration for our drop-in pickleball free play, which takes place twice weekly at the Recreation Center on New Hampshire Avenue. So pickleball is extremely popular, and we'll be looking for ways to figure out how to offer more opportunities to our community residents. Next slide. And that is the end of our formal presentation. And we'll be here to before you to answer any questions that you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. One of the things that I'm excited about in terms of what you all are proposing is your, even though it's 0.03 FTE, which is, it's a start, is your senior FTE allocation, and that's, or your separation for seniors and kind of how you're structuring that. More recently, I had an opportunity to participate on a panel with AARP, and it made me realize that there's so many more things that we could potentially do in terms of programming for seniors and access to resources around like senior focused activities. And I was just wondering whether or not how you all are envisioning this particular role. Is it more going to be around programming and physical activity? Are you also thinking about ways we may be able to partner with Patty to see if there may be some
additional resources that may be made available to support things like equipment purchasing and purchases, as well as other types of resources for seniors. I don't know if Greg
Is
heard.
there a question?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay.
Partnerships is definitely an area where we want to have a good number of. There are a lot of senior serving organizations within the city and around the city and around the country that we could partner with and get great ideas with. One of the things that recently hit me is that I turned 55 a couple weeks ago, and I am now considered eligible for our senior program. And one of the things that I actually charged our new senior manager with is to get more active programs for the younger generation of senior, so that we can actually make sure that we serve all residents of the 55 plus population in the city.
Director Clark, just a point of clarification, and I just want to make sure that this is clear to council. We have had senior programming for a long time.
Yep.
And so when you talk about new, one, you're referring to a relatively new senior coordinator because our longtime senior coordinator retired recently. And then two, when you say new division, previously seniors were incorporated mostly from a budgetary standpoint in a different division. And so new this year, we have separated that program, established it as its own division, so the council, public, city staff can clearly see it as a distinctive component of the recreation program. Is that all correct?
That is correct, and thank you, David. That is absolutely correct.
Okay. So, and I do just want to make sure I'm clear, because I was excited about something new, because I know that there's just a lot of folks in the county. There's just a lot of folks all over the places doing senior programming and would love to identify ways to partner with us. So are we, I thought I saw here, do we always have like a part-time staff with our senior coordinator?
I can speak on that. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Debbie Huffman. I'm the Deputy Director for the Recreation Department. We are adding part-time staff to assist Hazel with programs that she currently offers so that we could potentially take more participants. So there's a supervisory component to that. She can only help so many different participants. When we go on trips, there could be 2 drivers for the buses instead of 1. So it is a small pool, like you mentioned, but we are excited to start that and have her have some help so that we can offer more for the different participants that meet that age category, including Mr. Clark.
Great. Thank you very much. That clarifies things for me quite a bit, because I know that we have our newsletter that goes out and there's lots of activities that are happening. But when I saw extra part-time staff, I was like, wait a minute.
Right.
You may be doing some things, albeit 0.03
Right.
FTE.
And you did mention grants. Since Hazel's been here, which has been less than a year, she has gotten a grant through the National Recreation and Parks Association to offer programs outside of the community centers to those who have not been active in our programs. And it's a very elementary, taking a baby step into the pool of being active. So she's going to have it at the Franklin and Victory Towers. And it's not even physical. It's just overcoming stereotypes, overcoming why you aren't active with us. So she's already gotten that grant, and that should be rolling out in June.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Councilmember DeBala.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a regular attendee of recreation events, as you know, not to mention senior programs. But I've noticed in the last couple of years that recreation special programs, the attendance is off the charts. And I expect that to continue because I looked at the number of young children coming up I looked at our demographics, and there's no shortage of kids coming up through the system here. And at the same time, I noticed that there's a significant cut in the special events category, special events and programs, page 174, for the events. And I also saw the lines. And I was thinking to myself personally, when I was walking around the other day at the egg hunt, like, wow, we could just get another face painter. We could just get another, and then the lines would be shorter. But no, not with a reduction in the funds here for doing that. So I'm eager to hear whether my assumption is correct, that if there were some more money for program, not specifically for the special events that get 1,000 people, that maybe the lines could be a little smaller for some of the activities because there'd be more bodies providing the services at the event. Is that right?
I'll take that one. Yes, we could. Yes, we could use additional money so that we can service additional folks with our special events and possibly get those lines down. One of the things that did happen with our special events money, where the actual dollars for the actual events stayed the same, that was sort of like the senior category where all of the contractors money and just a bunch of money was pooled together. So now we separated it out in that division. So it appears that it's a reduction.
Oh, okay,
but it's
thank
not,
you.
It's
not
yeah,
as
it's
big
an
a
overall
reduction as it
reduction.
looks. Okay.
We just right sized the account and put money where it actually belongs.
Got it, because some of
But
that money was
yes,
for
we can-
seniors.
Yes, but we can use additional funds. The Monster Bash program had long lines as well.
It sure did.
And that seems to be growing. So, additional funds would allow us to get, additional contractors there to perform some of those services that the community likes.
And just so the other council members know what I'm talking about, we're talking about it. I'm talking about $5,000 or $10,000 additional. I'm not. This is not hundreds of thousands of dollars here.
So to give a quick overview of the egg hunt on Saturday, for those that missed it, it is the fastest event known to man.
Sorry.
We spent months, including some people on the stage on the dais, spent months stuffing eggs, and there were over 3,000 eggs. We had 4 different age groups, and with additional funding, we could break up those age groups so that it wouldn't be such a rush. But we had 4 face painters and 4 balloon twisters going for 2.5 hours solid. So it's already a lot going on with the Touch-a-Truck, with the playground, with the games, with the crafts, and with the Mr. Bunny photos. So that is what has our budget right now for the egg hunt, and that's what we did on Saturday.
Thank you, Councilmember DeBala. Councilmember Lampman.
You just needed more police officers to keep those parents out of the egg hunt field when they were supposed to stay on the sidelines. But I'm not sure there are enough police officers in the entire city of Tacoma Park to accomplish that. A quick compliment for your team for putting together your org chart and including the names of all the staff on there. That was very helpful, and it's a good example. Maybe other departments can follow suit, because for those of us who don't get to see all those faces, it helps us to put faces with the names. I just had, Mr. Clark, don't forget the table tennis players. In pickleball may be fast growing, but boy, I saw some table tennis people out there, and all those tables were full too. It was a lot of fun. And I just wanted to ask one quick question. In terms of the scholarship program, which you were mentioning, does not have a dollar limit, so I guess can continue to expand to fill the available requests. You make those sign-up times available. Did you take everybody, all comers, under the HUD requirements? Did you do that without, you don't quote run out of money because you don't have a top limit, so are you able to take everyone? And secondly, That does not include before and after care, does it, the scholarship program? If you could just clarify. Thank you.
Yes, the scholarship programs is for all of the recreation department's programs. And yes, we do not we go by the HUD limits. So if someone comes and said they really need a scholarship but they really couldn't afford it, then I communicate with the city manager or myself and grant them a scholarship. But the majority of people, I want to say, it's very rare when someone is over the income limit and does not qualify for a scholarship. When I say rare, it is extremely rare. Maybe one or two a year, maybe. But yeah, the majority of people that come through actually get a scholarship, and we can take more. Yeah, we are looking for more ways to advertise it and get the word out to the community that we have this wonderful opportunity available, and we just want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to participate.
And when you said all recreation programs, so the before and after school is considered a recreation program for which the scholarships
Yes.
can apply? Thank you.
Yes, and summer camps.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Lamb and Councilmember Gilbert.
Thank you, Director Clark and Deputy Director Hoffman for being here. My question was about you may have covered it, and I apologize if I missed it. The teen room. What is going on with the teen room? I know that the teens are in the game room now. Is there a plan for them to go back to the teen room? Or are we just renovating it? What are we doing there?
Yes. Right now, the police lobby is going about to be renovated. So the police dispatch will be moving in the teen lounge. So we've moved our teens lounge to the actual game room for that time. But we will be having summer camp in there in the teen lounge, and then once summer camp ends, then I believe the lobby will be used for will be under construction for use by the police department.
Okay.
And we will be going back, and yes, we will be going back once the construction of the police department for the dispatch area is completed.
Once the atrium project is done. Gotcha.
Yes, correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilbert. Councilmember Schlegel.
Thank you. I wondered, first off, can city council members sit here and stuff eggs during meetings during FY27? I bet we could get a lot stuffed, and we got a lot of room under the new dais, so. I'm serious.
I don't know if it's during the meeting, but we would love to set up an opportunity for you. It's a good photo op.
Second thing, just from a budget clarity standpoint, I wondered, could scholarships in the future be designated as an expenditure category, just so it's easy to look up over the years how those came through? Not to try to put limits on it, of course, but just to see what the trends are more easily. I see Director Chung nodding her head, I think. Okay.
We'll work with finance to see what we can do.
And then I wondered whether, we heard from Director Jones of the library the other evening, and she spoke about the 3 to 5 p.m. Challenges that library staff are facing with a larger area and still one desk, and how she's been working with the recreation department and the police department to consider some ways for the kids who have a lot of energy and want to have a lot of movement to come up with things to do. And I wondered whether you or Director Clark would like to share a perspective on that.
That 3 to 5 time, traditionally, as long as I've been in recreation, that actually is really the I call it the power hour, the hour when kids really get out of school and they walk down to the community center. That's a real intense time, because kids are just getting out of school. they're letting their hair down, getting a little bit of energy, getting with their friends. So what we've done traditionally is placed staff in the hallways to help mitigate that. Since construction, the design of the building has changed a little bit, and the excitement surrounding the new library and people wanting to go there probably created some barriers for us. We have trainings planned between library and recreation staff coming up to actually assist and help with that, to help both staffs learn teams and develop those relationships and things, everything that's needed in order to make sure that kids have a great time while they're here in the building and everything and behaving appropriately. So we have some things in place that we're going to do really soon in order to help the library as well as help recreation staff mitigate that.
Thank you. And do you feel that there's any shift with the newer and larger facilities and the different kind of communication between the two spaces? Is there any shift in the adults' ability to get to know kids one-on-one, know their names, have a sense of who they are, whether it's speaking from the recreation staff standpoint?
Yeah, in youth development, that's the number one thing, developing those relationships with kids. So it all begins with that. If you know the kids and know their names and they get to know you, that means the world to them, and it plays huge in their development. So that's one of the things that we concentrate on with our staff that work with our young people in our programs, and that's something that we'll be training on. We'll get actually additional training on once we have this combined staff training soon.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Councilmember Schlegel. Councilmember Honzak.
Thank you so much. I always love hearing about recreation. Just a few things here on scholarships. So where is that in the budget? Just so I understand where it's coming from. I'm not clear on that. It's part of some different categories, but how does it work?
It's not really a line item in the budget. It's
Right.
just realized as reduced revenue. So it's just unrealized revenue. We actually keep, as you can see, we keep records of. We actually have names and families who actually get the scholarship, and we track how much unrealized revenue we have per year, and which categories we have that unrealized revenue in. But it's not really tracked as as part of the actual budget.
I get it. Okay.
Because it's just money that the city isn't receiving.
Okay, no, thank you. That helps me understand how I would imagine it in there. And then I want to acknowledge that that's one of those really awesome programs that that has come into being since COVID. That's been expanded quite substantially without an upper limit. I can imagine it may get tapped again real soon with the loss of income that sadly I think many households are facing and will be impacted over the next couple of years and probably when we see FY26. But so is that requiring extra staffing time on your part to manage that process such that that's one of those things that we have added, even if it's only, it's not only, but it's 160,000, but that's a number of, 60 families from FY25, probably more for FY26 and 27. Can you give us a sense of how that's affecting your time?
Yeah, we have a wonderful administrative assistant who's put together a form for families to fill out. And we have a nice process. We've actually implemented timeframes for families to submit scholarships. So we received the majority of our scholarships, I want to say around the December timeframe. And they're good for a calendar year. So they start January 1st. So, December and for us is a slow time. So we received the majority of the forms during that time, even though a family can turn in one at any point throughout the year, that's when we receive the majority of them, because that's when families are more than likely about to register for summer camps. And we receive a lot of them before they register for aftercare as well. But our administrative assistant put together a really great process that she manages, and it seems like it's working, and it doesn't take an exorbitant amount of time for her to process it, nor capture the information from it,
Well,
nor to get it approved.
I appreciate that, and I think I have used the system on the user end. We have benefited last year from scholarship for our household, and I think the system looks really good. I would imagine with 60 different applications that probably has added some time to what you had before. So I invite you to present that information to us in the coming year, so that so that the kind of comments I was making about FTEs can help us better understand the additional, some of the very specific additional priorities that you are addressing. There's no chance that doesn't require a little bit more time, even if December is slow. So feel free to share that data with us. And then. Could I just ask, this is a quick one, and then there's one I sent, and I apologize, Director Clark. I very mistakenly called you by a different last name because I just was cutting and pasting and tired probably. So you'll see my email soon about this issue. But before I get to that, could you speak to whether or not over the last couple of years we have begun to bus kids from Sims to our aftercare program? Do you even know? Do you know? Okay, is that no, you don't think that's happening, or you don't know? I know it's not, it wouldn't be us. It would be through MCPS. If you don't know, we can look into it later. Every year it's something I mean to ask, and then I don't look into it.
I know it's something that we've looked into when when we're asked to provide transportation, but a parent can, and what we've had parents do in the past is a parent can go through Montgomery County Public Schools or the transportation system and request that their child be dropped off or picked up at a different location. So that's something that has to be done on the parent end.
Okay. I'm just going to flag this then, Director Clark, as a further conversation that I should have with you, especially before November, because it keeps being on the radar every year, and it's not really a budget question. But if it's something that budgetary issues would be worth me sticking in the reconciliation just as a placeholder, again, I invite that if that's one of the prohibitions. One of the observations I've had, and again, this affects all the households that are zoned to SIMS and RTES, is I have observed that it is nearly impossible for at least my household, I've just raised 3 kids for the last 20 years here, to utilize any of the after-school programs for my children because of the time that they end and because of the busing situation. And it has come to my attention that I think SIMS doesn't even have a bus that goes there. So if there were some budgetary situation that would be significant, I would like to begin that dialogue, however is necessary. And then finally, you can answer my email later, but I'm just going to say it publicly. I'd be interested in understanding where the youth serving summer camp programs that are run by community groups, such as Lunch and Learn, So What Else, and some of the others I'm familiar with, if that appears anywhere here and where that would be. Because it sounded like you had moved some things around, and I'm not clear on where that would be.
Yeah, the only program which is funded through the community partnership program that we manage is the Summer Lunch and Learn program, and that's in the 9,000 account. That's not in the recreation department account. And Susan can more than likely give you more information on what the 9,000 account is, but I believe that's the I'll let her say it, but it's in the 9,000 account. We don't have partnerships or the other organizations that may receive money through the city may receive money through the grants program, and that's through the Housing and Community Development Department. And I'll put this in writing for you tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The Lunch and Learn program is one of the grant programs. One of the grant programs in the multi-departmental division and what we call the 9,000 accounts. Because in that particular multi-departmental section of the budget, if you look at that, there are numerous HCD grants, there are PW grants, and there's also this partnership grants. And I believe it is one of those grant monies that we provide to the community. Yeah.
And that is a grant program, and Lunch and Learn has been historically a recipient of the grant program, but
Yeah.
it is not a earmarked item for Lunch and Learn specifically.
Yes.
And Director Clark, has the process changed for your community partnership program at all?
No, the process has not changed. We normally send something out after the money is approved through the budget. We put out an RFP. Give about a month for organizations within the community to apply, have a committee, choose a vendor, and then go through the council to award approval. I believe we put out an RFP last year. So if money is approved through this FY27 budget, I believe that we can enter into a contract with Lunch and Learn again. I have to take a look just to make sure.
And Director Clark,
that the contract is here.
how much is allocated for FY27? Or how much is proposed?
45,000.
45, and that's relatively consistent with FY26.
Yes, that is correct.
Is it the exact same amount?
Yes, it's the exact same.
Okay.
amount. The money has been at 45,000 since the inception of the program.
Right. Thank you.
So that's again, I think it's worth re-mentioning. It's not earmarked for any particular entity. It's a community partnership. So does that include any other community-supported youth serving summer camp programs? I think you did mention So What Else previously has been funded through the HCD grants. Are there any others that I don't know about? Like, I think there was the Adventist, what is it? Can somebody help me with the acronym? ACSGW program that got some police in-kind support. I don't know whether they had any other financial support.
Yeah.
Are there others?
Traditionally, through community partnership, Director Clark is Lunch and Learn. I can't recall the other. Ms. Huffman, Let's Play America.
Yeah, and Let's
They
Play
do a
America
summer?
actually just transitioned to community grants as well.
And it, it's any program. To answer your question, the RFP has certain criteria. So any entity that feels that it meets the criteria of the grant is welcome to apply.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Honzak. Councilmember Westlake.
Thank you. I had a question about the scholarships and looking at, for the 2025 revenue loss, about 162,000. How much of that is estimated before and after care and summer camps? Is that most of it? That's kind of what I figured, but I wanted to check.
Just yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
3/4 of it
Yeah.
is definitely aftercare and summer camp.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Now-
Mayor, just wanted to clarify one point, sorry. Back to the question about the atrium and the teen room. I just don't want it to be confused with later conversations about the atrium. The teen room will be used by some police admin. Dispatch is going to be located in a different portion of the building. And then part of the reason that recreation hasn't been able to use the room in very recent history is because of the relatively recent flood and trying to get that floor replaced. And I believe the floor is replaced now.
Yes, the floor is replaced and the walls should start seeing some demo and some repair next week.
So I think you'll have a small window where you guys can return to.
We are
you're
very
not-
hopeful that
Okay,
we can
right.
have it for summer camp.
For
to
some
s-
time.
To spread out, yes.
Yeah, and then once we start the construction for the atrium.
We'll
then
give it back
that's-
up.
That's when they'll have to relocate. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Schlegel.
Councilmember Hanzak, a bit back, you were mentioning Sims and busing. I might have just missed it, but is there a bus that takes kids from Rolling Terrace to any of our programs? Or did you meant to include that as
The
well
reason-
in your request?
Yeah, the reason I didn't mention that is because I do think that there is a bus that comes. I think they both, I think it goes around in a roundabout way, but I think there is a bus. I can't say that with absolute certainty. The main constraint, though, is the ending time of our after-school programs is so early that by the time you do one of those circular routes, you're getting there at like already 20, even 25, 30 minutes into our programs having already started. So that's, especially for elementary, because they get out later than the middle school kids.
I see.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a tricky business.
All right, seeing no more lights. That's it for this evening in this agenda item. Thank you all so much, and we will see everyone on Monday. All right, have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.